when I go to do the intro and the thing I'm met by is just like that Final Fantasy Spirits Within bikini shot.
Yeah.
If you want to know more about that, I guess check out the last podcast. But welcome to the Wiki Weekdays podcast, where I, your host for this week, Lucas Holland, bring you through just a podcast where both Karl and I, Karl Smallwood, my lovely co-host.
Hello, I'm here.
Yes, indeed. We bring you through a couple of wikis, and just hopefully we find a fun discussion to be had within them. But Karl, the first gimmick that we have to go through for the podcast is, of course, which wiki won this week, which is
we've got this at a time, so who won? Who the two wikis were?
Well, Karl, you've got to let me describe what it is.
Okay, describe the format.
That might be new here. Which wiki won this week is just that our, lovely Discord folk go and have a vote where it's just a poll between the two wikis that we brought last week.
Which were?
And they were, of course, the video game movie adaptations, Part 2, because we just ranted for so long about them.
We did indeed.
Karl's wiki was a list of cryptids.
And which one? Cryptids or video game movies?
Well, unfortunately for me, cryptids won this week.
Yes! They are as mysterious as they are non-existent.
It is true, and of course, that is just a vote for which wiki brought the best discussion, and I'm hoping that yours won for a good reason, because I'm not going to lie, I was so tired and out of it, being a bit ill last week, that I barely remember the second half of that podcast, where I just had to just peace out.
I've not remembered the first half of recording today, mate, because, as you know, I had a friend staying over this weekend, and they had a flight cancelled, because they were meant to get a flight today, so I could record. I went, don't worry, I'll get a hotel. I'll get a hotel, it's fine, you put me up for a couple of days, that's all right.
Mm-hmm.
As they were on their way there to their hotel, they forgot their wallet. So privately, I've just been like trying to get in contact with that friend of like, okay, how do I get my wallet to you before first thing tomorrow morning, where you've got to fly and leave the country while also getting the 5 hours of recording I need to get done with you.
Yeah, and you heard it here first. Karl kicks his friends out onto the street.
No, I didn't. No, it was a mutual decision because they've been here for a couple of days. Like, look, I need to get this sorted. I'm going to be on the phone all day with my airline. You need silence in your apartment while you sort this out. Also, we're never talking about I'm wearing a Christmas jumper.
Yay!
It's nearly Christmas.
It is the first podcast of December, which Karl has appropriately dressed for, and I have not.
Get used to this jumper, folks. The only I've got.
Just literally got a kind of funny jacket on, and I'm just repping merch for a different YouTube channel instead of celebrating Christmas.
Or our channel.
We haven't got any merch. I can't wear merch for our channel.
Hey, if we got loads of support on, say, Patreon or something, we could make merch.
We didn't even make that one of the goals on our updated Patreon.
Because that's not really a goal that you want to... It's not a reward, is it? Your reward is you get to give us more money to buy a shirt.
Exactly right. It's maybe a goal in the future could be to have a new Patreon tier where people can subscribe for merch that they get monthly or something, but that's ultimately something that we have tried to keep away from, because this is a 2-person operation, and generally people do that kind of stuff, have somebody looking after everything like that rather than just 2 people scrambling around. It's we're looking to add value via a new gaming channel and extra videos rather than merchandise that only a small percentage of people might want.
And would require us to hire an entire extra person whose sole job was dealing with that.
Or we would have to do it and probably end up doing it poorly. Yeah. Right. But yes, of course, you can go check out our Patreon link below where we have new tiers, new updates, and you can, of course, respective to the podcast, you can get your name featured in the podcast. And
here's the thing, Lucas, I don't know whose name's up there because this is not recorded live, so...
No, it's not. So, special thanks to everyone whose name is featured above us.
Can you say those names?
Ahead of time.
Can you say them out loud?
I don't know the entire list because I haven't checked this week. So...
Okay.
Thank you to everyone who's displayed above.
What about the people listening at home? What do they get?
TM. people displayed above tier. But anyway, anyone that's, of course, in our Patreon, they get to, if they would like to, go over to our Discord and submit a submission for Pet of the Week. And Karl...
Pet of the Week, it's a good one this week, right? That is such a photogenic-looking cat.
That's a really good picture of a photogenic-looking cat right there.
That's like a cat who's like, do you know like the Icon Has Cheeseburger cat that started meme culture as we know it? Where it's like the cat that gets given a cheeseburger, it's like, I can have a cheeseburger? That's that kind of energy displayed by the cat Renata.
Excuse me, Karl, what kind of grammar was that? Is Icon Has Cheeseburger?
Yeah.
Not, I can have a cheeseburger.
Well, I always imagine cats either speak like an idiot or really refined. It's the two ways cats are portrayed, right?
Definitely speak very regally, but that's not what the meme is about, Karl.
No. And if people don't know what Icon Has Cheeseburger is, you're fucking too young for this podcast.
Oh, God, yeah.
There's people who don't know. They don't know what a meme is. They don't know that memes started. It was just a picture of a cat with the text on it saying Icon Has Cheeseburger.
That's
and that was
thing.
Spoilers. That was the funniest fucking thing in the world for like 6 months.
Of like 2010 or whenever the fuck it was, yeah.
That was the funniest thing on the internet.
And just that old meme format of just picture in the middle, and it was like, you know, the success baby or whatever it was, and then just like a bit of text either above or below or both. And that was it.
We should do that with like Renata for the cat. Just like, I am pet of the week? Question mark. I can be pet of the week. We'll bring it back. We'll bring back the Icon Has Cheeseburgers format.
Well,
kick it old school. It's an old school crusty meme.
I hope it's pronounced Renata. I hope we're saying it correctly. But Media said, well, finally joined the Patreon. So here's Renata for my Pet of the Week submission. This picture was taken by a friend. I never get pictures so good. And that is a very good picture.
It's a very high quality photo of that cat, yeah. Like I say, it looks... It's a meme waiting to happen.
Like, Media very much going against the rule set that we have laid out for Pet of the Week of the blurrier the better, but we don't get to vote on that, Karl, because that's what the rest of our lovely folk on the Discord do.
It also is like weirdly photogenic, which is another like ancient ass meme. Remember that like ridiculously photogenic guy where he's just a dude going for a jog during a marathon. He just looks so photogenic that he got offered marriage proposals on the news.
I don't remember that, but maybe the joke in How I Met Your Mother is based off that, where like Probably. They can never catch a picture of Barney Stinson not looking immaculate.
It might be that, yeah. It's if it's in a sitcom, it's probably ripped off from something off the internet, right?
Well, that's what I mean, right? It's like it's probably a very unoriginal joke that they found from somewhere else, and yeah, just pour one out to a show that I think started out pretty well, and just by the end of it, like it fully Game of Thrones itself.
Like 90% of the people on that show by the end of it were arseholes, right?
Oh yeah. Do you remember when like what's his name? The Neil Patrick Harris.
Okay, yeah.
Who played Barney Stinson. He just like for his like first TikTok, I can't remember exactly what it was. We just immediately nuked his reputation.
Yeah, because he was thirsting after like one of the kids from Stranger Things or something, right?
No, I think that was in an interview, but like he posted this really arsehole-ish TikTok as like his very first TikTok, and everyone was like, you don't know what today is, do you?
This is why celebrities have publicists.
Mm-hmm. It was like, speaking of another, completely unaware of how this would fly.
Like an ancient meme of just the cat's hand on the thing. Stop posting.
Yeah, just don't post this one.
Stop posting.
It's okay. And we've all been there, but not all of us have been like people with millions of followers doing your like, I'm here, I'm finally on TikTok post, and it's just like, oh, read the room.
It's got to be bad as well, where you like it's the thing is talk about reputations, right? Take you decades to build, seconds to destroy.
Yeah.
And you can never rebuild them. There's many such cases of just people just demolishing their reputation in seconds because they thought they were funnier or they thought they could tell a joke that people... It's like, nah.
So I wonder if like this...
You try to find it. Go and do some live check-in. And what did he do?
Yeah, I don't know, but when I clicked on Reddit of like Neil Patrick Harris's first TikTok video, is video unavailable. It's like,
that's how you know it's a good one, right?
It's not good.
You know it's a good one when it's not available anymore. It's like the legendary Burger King tweet on like International Women's Day of like women belong in the kitchen. And then the second follow-up tweet is, but also managing the kitchens. But no one cares about that second tweet, Burger King. We're going to screenshot that first one, and it's going to end up on Forbes.
Yeah.
And that social media manager gets fucking fired.
So let's move over...
No one reads the second tweet in a tweet thread.
Let's move over to today.com, where his first ever TikTok video, Neil Patrick Harris, has officially entered his cringy dad era, listing himself as father, husband, ringmaster, solutionist, fixer, and a novice of the TikTok. He brings a lot of energy to his initial first video, and his 13-year-old twins, Harper and Gideon, balance that thought out with teenage sighs and eye rolls.
That's not that bad. He was just a cringy dad. But I just remember when he was thirsting after an underage guy in an interview, and it's like, hang on, wait. Neil, do you want to just not say... No. Double down.
Yeah, so it does appear that it was just really cringy dad stuff, and he just didn't know what he was doing.
Again, he said much worse things in an interview.
Yeah. And let us know in the comments if, I'm reading that wrong, but I'm just trying to skim through that within, a minute.
Was there something to it that's not been covered in this article yet? It was also when he did his one of his Halloween parties one year. It's like, oh yes, I'm going to do an Amy Winehouse themed meat platter.
Essentially celebrating her death, long after she died.
After she died, yeah. Which, is a thing a lot of people do. Like, whenever Halloween rolls around, it's like, what's the last celebrity who died? The zombie version of them is going to be the asshole costume of the year, right? But you don't expect a celebrity to do that, because you expect a celebrity to have a highly polished media presence where someone says, stop posting.
Especially when it's quite a nasty story, and she was very young and talented, it's real poor taste, right?
It's also as well when your reputation is a nice guy.
Yeah.
When you've got a reputation as you've got a Teflon reputation as being a nice dude. Why would you do this? There's no reason to do this other than you don't need negative attention. You're pretty popular, dude.
It was not so legendary after all.
It was not.
But Karl, speaking of legendary, I hope that you have brought something legendary for us to speak about this week.
I have. I brought, we were talking about memes.
Mm-hmm.
So this is an ancient and powerful meme, but, in the Christmas spirit, anyone at home listening, I'm wearing a Christmas jumper that's got, candy canes and snowmen on it. But last year, for Christmas, we talked about Christmas number ones. But I wanted to talk specifically this year about one specific Christmas number one. Perhaps the most impactful Christmas number one in recent memory.
Is it my favourite one? I think
the most impactful number one would be Live Aid, right? Do they know it's Christmas?
That must be, but my favourite number one would, of course, be Rage Against the Machine.
And that is the topic of today's video, Killing in the Name. So that is the song. Put us all on the same page, specifically this Wikipedia page. Killing in the Name is a song by the American band Rage Against the Machine, and it appears on their 1992 self-titled debut album. Yeah.
That's as old as I am.
Yep. It's 1 year younger than I am. It features heavy drop D guitar riffs. The lyrics protest police brutality, inspired by the beating of Rodney King and the 1992 Los Angeles riots. And of course, we're not going to get too much into that. If you don't know about it, hey, this comedy podcast is probably not the best place to learn about it.
We would probably do a bad job of doing it justice, right?
To the weight and solemnity of the topic. It is a very serious topic, and it is a topic that a band like Rage Against the Machine is all too happy to, tackle. Well, as the name suggests, that's kind of their whole thing.
And that really, if the name isn't enough to sell you on it, the fact that just that summation of that album is like, hey, all of this shit went down, we are speaking out about it. And it's like the whole shit that went down a couple of years ago, right, where they were speaking out against abortion bans and just, where did this come from?
It's always Tom Morello, who, I think Tom Morello has a double degree in political science and political theory.
Right.
Let's double check. I want to give him his proper. He worked hard for his degree. Where's his education? He does have a degree in something very related to the fields of politics. So yes, he's got a Bachelor of Arts degree. He went to Harvard.
Oh wow!
So he went to Harvard. A pretty prestigious No, it's not prestigious, but
well, it's
I guess it will be
prestigious. Yeah.
yeah, it's a fairly prestigious place to study, right? So he has a bachelor degree in social studies. Does it say specifically what it's in?
And it's like, to give Harvard its due credit, it is listed as like one of the highest ranked universities in the whole world.
In the world, yeah. It's the one, like, if you ask someone, like, name a good university, it's Harvard, it's Yale, it's Cambridge, or it's Oxford.
Yeah, the Americans are like Harvard and Yale, and the English would be like Oxford and Cambridge. Maybe like Durham, I know, is like ranked third usually.
Mm-hmm. But I can't specifically find his specific degree. But he does have, like, a degree in social studies, which would include, like, the humanities and just aspects of just culture, right? If you've got a degree in that, I don't know what his specific degree is, but it's a pretty good one. And he's all too happy to point out the fact that, hey, I've got a fucking degree in this shit.
So apparently Tom Morello, according to a quick Google, holds a BA in political science from Harvard.
That's it. Social studies and with the focus being on political science. So when, like, people say, why is Rage Against the Machine talking about politics? Like, I've literally got a degree from Harvard in political science. Even if he doesn't, he's still, like, a person who sees injustice and is, like, speaking out against that via the large platform he's built by being a very talented individual.
Of course, yeah, you don't need any qualifications to make a statement about these kind of things. The fact that people are surprised that he does, it's like, he's literally got a degree in this shit.
And also, he's like the lead guitarist of a band called Rage Against the Machine. And the old joke is, what do you think the machine they were Rage Against was?
Oh, it was probably just like, an ATM or something, right?
Yeah. But we have some, like, specifically want to talk about when it became a Christmas number one, but there is some interesting information about its creation. So, writing. Guitarist Tom Morello supposedly wrote the riff while teaching a student drop D tuning. He briefly paused the lesson to record the riff.
And also, just be aware that we can't play the song. YouTube will absolutely annihilate us.
I also have my guitar next to me, and I can't play it because my guitar is not in drop D, and I'm not tuning that shit live.
Karl, you know what you should do is, with your out-of-tune guitar, try and play it.
No, because it's going to sound awful when everyone's going to think I can't play guitar. I can't play guitar as good as Tom Morello, but I can actually play guitar, but not with that piece of shit. It's there, I hang my headphones on it, my good guitar's in the other room, and I don't think that's tuned either. But
wait for Karl to just do a rendition of Smoke on the Water. Like, da.
Let me just hear that. According to Tom Morello, though, the song was a collaborative effort, and it's worth noting that every member of Rage Against the Machine, Tom Comerford, Zach De La Rocha, Tom Morello, and Brad Wilk, are all listed as the song's writers.
Yeah, like, it's one of those where, obviously, when it comes to a band, it's not normally just one person's effort, and
normally it's a lot of producers' effort and then one person, right?
Yeah,
with a band like Rage Against the Machine, though, being like a very they're very raw, very authentic. Their authenticity is part of their charm. I would be very surprised if there was like a producer's credit from someone who's not a member of the band.
Exactly,
on any one of their songs.
But like, even if there was, there's some producers that aren't like just corporate dickheads, right? And some people are like producing music because they give a shit about music, and
yes, so
like,
but
very
should
much
I tell the story?
Well,
my favourite story about like music and writing riffs was a great. Okay, so
I guess
there's an idea of like Rage Against the Machine presumably write a lot of their own music. Like Tom Morello, like one of the most celebrated, well-known musicians in the world. Of course, he's writing his own fucking songs, right? Zach De La Rocha, of course, he's writing his own fucking music. There's an amazing documentary about how Sweden makes most of the world's pop music.
Oh, right, yes, yeah.
And there's I think it's like just called like This Is Pop, and they're interviewing like this Swedish hitmaker house. And there's a guy who's in a heavy metal band, and he's like, "Oh yeah, I've got like a load of song credits that I wrote for Pink." He's like, "What did you write for Pink?" Well, we don't think Pink heavy metal band doesn't sound like there'd be a lot of crossover there. And the guy talks about how on stage he wrote, or when he was like just dicking around in his like recording studio for his band, just recorded the opening riff, or he played around with the opening riff to like Na 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 by Pink, or So What I think it is by Pink.
So What, yeah.
And anyone who's listened to that song knows that the entire song is basically just that riff. Yeah. And he said he went into a studio, showed them that riff, and they went, "Oh, cool. I'm going to send that to Pink." And then Pink he's like, oh, cool, I guess I'm on an album with Pink now. But
I do like that song, but it is very, very much...
It's carried by that lick,
verse,
right?
Chorus, verse, chorus, verse, chorus, and like, it is just... That riff is the entire verse, and then the chorus is just like...
Who gives a fuck, right?
So what?
It's carried by that riff, and
yeah.
It's a really great moment of, I think it's intentional, but I imagine I've only interacted with Swedish people very briefly, but they tend to have a very understated, sarcastic sense of humour. And the guy talks about how, well, so you wrote that song? I was like, no, I wrote the music, but Pink came up with the lyrics. And it smash cuts to Pink singing along to his riff going, na 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 na. It's like, she didn't write that fucking song, did she? But like, obviously he's not going to say that because you don't want to piss off an artist who might be
I don't doubt that she wrote the lyrics.
But it's just when it cuts to her going, na 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 na, in tune with the thing he wrote.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
And like, I was going to bring up, a very different example of like how collaboration kind of works within a band of just...
Yes.
A good example is like Under the Bridge, where Anthony Kiedis was like, hey, I don't think this is a Chili Pepper song. I believe it was the producer who convinced him to like show it to the rest of the band. And then like John Frusciante's like, cool, I'll come up with a guitar section to like the lyrics. And then I think he only showed it to John to begin with because he was a bit nervous about the lyrics, and like it was very different from their vibe. And then like they both then showed it to the other members of the band, and they came up with their parts. And like again, just
music, yeah, it's a very collaborative process.
That's how a lot of bands work, right? Is like one person might get like writing credit, but all members of the band probably contribute.
Yeah, music is a very collaborative process, unless like the person who writes it happens to be like a virtuoso or a multi-instrumentalist. Like Beck, for example, is a multi-instrumentalist, so he writes a lot of his music for all the parts of the song because he can play like 15 instruments. Say for Prince was like a virtuoso in like 15 different instruments. He played all the instruments on all like his first album, for example, and he wrote all the parts to it. Another was Michael Jackson, where he couldn't play musical instruments, but he had perfect pitch and could sing so closely to what an instrument would sound like. He would beatbox his songs into a microphone, and he'd go into the studio and say the session guitarist that'd be in, he'd say, okay, this is what we want you to play, and he'd play him beatboxing the sound of the guitar. And like then some of them it's just, I've got lyrics, here's a basic, I want it in this time signature, go.
Yeah. And obviously big band, the Beatles, where like Paul McCartney and John Lennon pretty much get writing credits for nearly everything that isn't awful. Where like Ringo Starr always gets made fun of for like the Yellow Submarine and all that.
But don't forget that Paul McCartney and John Lennon wrote fucking Eye on the Walrus, which is when someone wrote a letter to the Beatles telling them like, hey, I'm in English class and my teacher is insistent that your lyrics have deeper meaning. I'm sick and tired, and they were basically complaining, I'm sick and tired of analysing Beatles lyrics in my class, it fucking sucks. I hate the Beatles. So they wrote I Am the Walrus as the deliberate piss take of that, and just wrote the most nonsensical lyrics possible.
Well, there's kind of like a lot of stories about how they got to a certain level of fame where they were just like, how fucking shit and nonsensical can we make our music before people will stop standing us, right?
Yeah, and they never did. And then you got Elton John and his longtime collaborator, Bernie Taupin, where Bernie Taupin writes all of the music and Elton John writes the lyrics, and they barely interact with each other during that process.
Yeah, but like I was going to say, I imagine that even though McCartney and Lennon get all the credit, is like
there was
the other two still probably contributed a lot on those songs for their own parts, right? Like,
yeah, and you might not think the contributions they made would constitute a writing credit, but in the music industry, it absolutely would, because there's a term known as write a word, get a third.
Mm-hmm.
And the way that works is that they'll go to one of these pop factories, like in Sweden or something, or sometimes like a song written for another artist, or another artist's song they don't want, or doesn't fit their style. They'll give it to a new artist, and they'll tell that artist to make a suggestion for a change, any change, as simple as a word. Because, like, for example, Taylor Swift, the song Shake It Off.
Mm-hmm.
The original song was Take It Off. Taylor Swift suggested we change it to Shake It Off, because that's not sexual, and it fits the brand a bit better. Now she gets a writing credit for that song.
Meanwhile, Sabrina Carpenter's like, let's just pretend I'm actually fucking on stage. It's
But
like
also being a
that
cat
fits
hunter.
her brand of really wanting to get away from the Disney youth stereotype.
Well, speaking of, fucking on stage, Killing in the Name combines elements of punk, hip-hop. It has been described as alternative metal, rap rock, hard rock, and proto-new metal. And that sounds so rad until you actually listen to what new metal sounds like. God, this fucking sucks. Right?
New metal's alright.
New metal it was fine for the 1 year it was cool.
No, because, like...
Everyone knows when Rolling came out and Rolling was great.
Yeah, but, like, at the same time, there's people who will consider, like, new metal not proper metal and stuff, but it is, and it was good, and we all
I'm just not a fan.
enjoyed it.
Yeah, I'm just not a fan.
Yes, you are, Karl. I've seen you in
No, I
Cork
was
on
a
a
fan.
Saturday night. Like, we're all secretly new metal fans. We
None
just
of
don't
us like
like to
new
admit
metal
it.
until Rolling comes on in the club at 1 o'clock in the morning. I still like as well. There's that argument that white culture, like if it is a thing, like culminated at like the Coachella where like Limp Bizkit came out and sung Rolling with Kid Rock there in a big fur coat and a pimp chalice.
Oh,
And they just did a big
God.
chainsaw at Coachella, and it's like that's where it peaked. Just a bunch of hillbillies doing a chainsaw in front of Kid Rock in a pimp coat.
Like, that's the thing is, like, I can't get behind the whole Kid Rock shit, but are you really going to tell me that you, like, don't like Linkin Park?
Okay, Linkin Park, yeah, I guess, but that's like rap rock, right? And that's the thing about defining
it's very messy, right?
That's the problem, like trying to define any specific genre. Even like, on the Wikipedia page, the genre for Killing in the Name is described as alternative metal, rap rock, or hard rock, which shows that those genre labels are like not meaningless, but there's a lot of plasticity to them.
I mean, when I Google new metal, like, Slipknot is one of the top answers, and I'm like, I don't listen to much Slipknot. I would have never thought of Slipknot as like new metal as a not much of a Slipknot listener.
But I guess if we went and looked at the definition of what new metal is, Slipknot would fall under some of the criteria. And that's the thing, right? It's like, how much of do you fall under more of the criteria for this genre than you do not? Then it could be argued that it is in this genre, but at the same time, it's not, like I say, it's not meaningless, but it has a lot less meaning than people ascribe to it, right? It's just, you like what you like.
Yes.
And these labels are helpful, but ultimately, they don't matter all that much when it comes to, do you like the song?
Ultimately, the main reason why genres really exist is kind of, as you say, to just kind of say, do you like this thing? Here's similar things that you might also kind of like.
They help in an academic sense, but with art being so subjective, it doesn't really matter. But, speaking of, or continuing on with the entry on the music, journalist Peter Buckley has described the song as a howling, expletive-driven tirade against the ills of American society. The song builds in intensity as De La Rocha chants the line, "Fuck you, I won't do what you tell me," building in a crescendo the next 4 times and aggressively screaming the line the final 8 times, culminating with the scream, "Motherfucker." And it's just one of those songs where it's so raw, especially like the first studio version. Obviously, when they sung it live, I imagine Zach De La Rocha's still pissed off because nothing's really changed. Mm-hmm. But that first album, when it's like their debut, it's so raw. And I think that's one of the reasons why the band really took off, because people could feel the emotion, the intensity of that blast, like, "Motherfucker!" It's like everyone's been there at least once, right?
Yeah, and I don't know how the world, like, came together to make just the moment that we will ultimately talk about with the Christmas
How
number
it became
one.
a Christmas number one.
Just so poetic a song to pick with then the whole, like, shenanigans going down.
Yeah, and that's the thing. The song has enjoyed many, many years of success, and it has been used sometimes for purposes and reasons that the band would agree with, other times not. It has a very complex history, but we'll get to those in a moment. But first, let's talk about the 2009 UK Christmas number one campaign. So in early December 2009, the English DJ John Mortar and his wife Tracy launched a group on the social networking site Facebook, encouraging people to buy the song in the week before Christmas. Their hope being that they will prevent the winner of the X Factor, a televised singing competition, from achieving the UK Christmas number one for the 5th year running. Which is just a thing that happened prior to then, and it was every year without fail, X Factors. Whoever won that year would get the Christmas number one.
It really feels like it was a lot longer than 5 years.
I think it's because even if it didn't get the number one, it was still always so prevalent, right?
It was very prevalent, and obviously after Killing the Name Of became number one, years after, there was still X Factor winning every year as well.
Yeah. And it's just the Christmas number one, which we talked about on the episode about the Christmas number one. It's like it started as a sort of friendly competition of sorts between musicians to write usually a novelty song.
Yeah.
Like a novelty song somewhat focused on the Christmas period, and usually it'd be for charity or something like that. And then in the 2000s, it became really cynical, and it was just, okay, Simon Cowell has just created... Literally, we're going to show you the process of creating a band or a musician. We're going to show you the process, we're going to show you how the sausage is made, and you're still going to buy it.
Yeah.
And just it dominated the charts, and it was like near guaranteed that every year, whoever won the X Factor would have the Christmas number one.
And obviously there's a lot of like stuff on the X Factor or Pop Idol or whatever show you want to talk about, The Voice, etc., all in those veins of like, there's a lot messier stuff going on behind the scenes than they're willing to show.
Yes.
Ultimately,
and there's like a lot of like putting the thumb on the scale, for example. That was the reason why like America's Got Talent and Britain's Got Talent and shows of its ilk, and they're always won by singers. Because singers are a lot easier to market.
Again, it's just a lot of it's production, right?
Yep.
And producers getting in the way, as is always the way, where like the moment it has to become a TV show and a marketing campaign and something to like sell Christmas number one, is it all has to become very, very produced and particular.
Yes. And that's part of the reason why this campaign took off, because it felt very organic. It felt very raw. It felt like a genuine, authentic display of frustration with the status quo. And what better song and what better band to showcase that than Rage Against the Machine? How perfectly fitting that, the way they're protesting this monolith of a corporation dominating what used to be a test of genuine enthusiasm from the British public for a particular group, artist, or solo act.
Yeah, and
it's now been dominated by a corporation.
I can't remember whether it was before, after, or the same year, where there were like campaigns for other songs to do the same, where it was like
there's been some failed attempts, and in the years since, people keep trying to do it, which is always the problem, right? Of you're not going to catch lightning in a bottle twice.
Because there's that The Bird Is the Word song, I can't remember what that's
tried,
called.
Yeah. And there was someone like, never going to give you up. But I think the reason this one took off is specifically because the subject matter of the song. And the fact, well, it has a line in it like says literally, I won't do what you tell me.
Mm-hmm.
And as a result, it did do quite well. And it mentions here that alongside the group, a Just Giving page was created to raise money for the homeless charity Shelter.
Cool.
So that was like the Facebook group which started the campaign, and that raised approximately $110,000 or 70,000 British pounds. After the X Factor creator Simon Cowell denounced the campaign as stupid and cynical, the group gained more attention, being mentioned on various UK news channels, radio stations and websites. Rage Against the Machine added their support as a band, with Tom Morello stating, achieving the Christmas number one would be, and I quote, a wonderful dose of anarchy. And that he and the rest of the band plan to donate the unexpected windfall generated as a result of renewed interest in the single to charity. Which is just a thing that the band does a lot. They donate a lot of their proceeds to charity. They do a lot of free shows.
And that's exactly
they
the
allow
type of people...
use their music for certain political groups and political campaigns. They also do not let certain political campaigns use their music, and they sue the fuck out of them when they try.
Yes, and
which we'll
it's
get
like
to.
You ultimately want to give that person your money rather than just lining Simon Cowell's pockets a bit further, right?
So other musicians to lend their support to the campaign include Dave Grohl, Muse, Them Crooked Vultures, Liam Howlett, and The Prodigy. Just The Prodigy as a band. Let's go. They were among the musicians.
I was like waiting for the second half of that. I'm like, what have The Prodigy done wrong? I don't know.
No, just The Prodigy. Because like Liam Howlett is the producer of The Prodigy. He's the co-founder.
Right.
But it says that Liam Howlett, because I recognise his name as a member of The Prodigy. Then it said, and The Prodigy. It's like, but Liam Howlett's a member of The Prodigy.
Well, it's the same with Dave Grohl and Them Crooked Vultures. I believe he's part of Them Crooked Vultures as well.
Yeah. I guess it's just like, he must have lent his support, and then the rest of The Prodigy went, that seems like something Keith Flint would be like, yeah, fucking why not? I hate Simon Cowell, he's a prick. Just pitch it as Simon Cowell's a prick, right?
Yeah. Them Crooked Vultures is Josh Homme, John Paul Jones, and Dave Grohl.
There we go.
It's like
Either way.
one of the 80 different things Dave Grohl's been involved with.
The campaign additionally received support from Paul McCartney, who had previously appeared on The X Factor with the finalists, and the X Factor contestants, Jedward. And Jedward, one of those things, I don't like Jedward as a group, but as people, they seem alright, because all they ever do on Twitter is just go on Twitter and like, we fucking hate the monarchy, because they're Irish.
Yeah.
All they do, we fucking hate the monarchy, support gay rights. That's all they do. It's like, you know what, Jedward, you do you.
It's one of those things where when they were in the spotlight, it was very much like, oh, these guys are annoying as fuck. And over the years, I've just heard little bits and pieces where it's like, no, they're actually, like, way more aware of how annoying they seemed and were leaning into the bit. And B, just, like, seem like alright guys. Of just, as you say, just leaning into the bit of being stupid and then just, like, using that fame to call out the monarchy and call them
and bring attention to, like, you know, activist groups and just news stories that don't get as much attention.
Mm-hmm.
They seem like pretty sound people from what I've seen of, like, you know, the limited exposure I've had to, because I avoid all music related to the X Factor, like the goddamn plague. Critics noted that both the X Factor and Rage Against the Machine are signed to labels that are all part of Sony BMG, which is like, that's not really a criticism when Sony owns everything music related. Yeah. It's like, and I think it mentions here that Tom Morello dismissed the conspiracy claims as ridiculous.
It's like ultimately, especially the way the music was like 30 odd years ago is, okay, yes, we're trying to rage against the machine, but at the same time, if we completely ignore the production side of things and don't go with a label, we're never going to get our music out anywhere.
Which is something the band has talked about, and it's something that, like, the band as well has expressed. Like, we often think, was it the right thing to sign with a big label to get a message out there? But we are, you know, part of the very machine that we campaign against. Mm-hmm. That's one of the reasons why they're so, like, proactive when it comes to charity and expressing messages of support and letting people use their music and their message.
It's like, at the end of the day, it's all well and good trying to, like, be on your high horse about the whole thing, but they never really would have gotten their music listened to otherwise.
Also, as well, I don't think at this point anyone's telling Tom Morello what the fuck to do, right? I hardly think, like... And do you know what? Speaking of which, Rage Against the Machine attracted controversy when, as part of a yearly tradition, they were asked to sing the Christmas number one of that year, Killing in the Name, live on BBC Radio 5. Despite the host repeatedly asking them to censor the expletives, which remember are, fuck you, I won't do what you tell me. So let's keep in mind, we have the band, Rage Against the Machine. And they, before they went to sing a song, they went over to the lead singer of Rage Against the Machine and said, hi, yeah, we're from the BBC. Can you please not say the words, fuck you, I won't do what you tell me? And it's like, how did nobody see what was going to happen?
And this is what I just mean about, like, we literally spoke about it last year, but just how poetic...
Irony was invented for this moment, right?
Yeah. How incredible it is that, like, somebody is telling them to not say the words, fuck you, I won't do what you tell me.
And then the band called Rage Against the Machine, and they're from the BBC.
And it's like, how the fuck did you think this was going to go down any differently than what it did?
During the crescendo of their performance, frontman Zach De La Rocha started, but only singing I Won't Do What You Tell Me, with a brief pause where he would normally sing fuck you. But after a few lines, he screamed as loudly as he could, directly into the microphone, fuck you, I won't do what you tell me, repeatedly until he was cut off.
It's the fact that, like, he edged it in as well.
Yeah. And they were probably thinking in the recording, but like, okay, so keep in mind as well, this was live.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's tradition to let the lead, like whoever's got the number one, you invite them onto BBC Radio 5 to sing a live lounge version of a song. So it's like a soft rock live lounge version of, like, Killing in the Name. Do you know what? I bet that was actually a pretty decent remix.
Yeah.
I don't think... How often do you think Rage Against the Machine gets a chance to do an acoustic set?
Mm-hmm.
I bet they never get asked to do acoustic sets, right?
No, I love the Live Lounge for that reason, is like listening to acoustic covers from the Live Lounge of a vast litany of amazing songs. It's really good, and I'd recommend people go track it down, like all the Live Lounge different like albums they do and stuff.
Yeah, because it's the actual musician themselves, but it's a way they'd not normally sing the song. Like I said, how often do you think Rage Against the Machine get a chance to do an acoustic version of one of their songs?
Mm-hmm.
when, like, you know, the genre of music they play is post-nu metal or pre-nu metal.
Whatever the fuck you want to call it, right?
On December 20th, 2009, BBC Radio 1 revealed the song had reached the number one spot, selling more than 500,000 copies and being the first download-only single to become the Christmas number one. The following week, Joe McElderry's cover of The Climb became the last British UK number one single of the year 2000s.
And I believe Joe McElderry was one of the X Factor people, right?
Yeah, so he got the number one in January, but he did not get the Christmas number one.
Yeah, which is like the quote-unquote important number one.
Well, it's because it's a highly coveted spot, and that's what we talked about in the episode of It Used to Be, because it used to be, like I said, an informal, somewhat friendly competition between musicians to get it. And there was not a lot, and a lot of musicians didn't take themselves seriously when it came to getting the number one. And that's how stuff like Live Aid came about, where the normally massive, swollen egos of all these celebrities were put aside for a novelty Christmas hit, with the proceeds going to charity.
And admittedly, when you think about it, very patronising Christmas hit, right? But
yeah,
it's well-meaning.
It's well-meaning in the idea of you've got like 20 different celebrities into a studio to sing a song.
I think it was way more than that, right? It must have been like 50 plus from the looks of it.
And just the idea as well, like you get someone like, you know, a normally serious singer, or like, you know, a really big musician, just being a little bit less serious, like Paul McCartney singing like Wonderful Christmas Time, which is one of my favourite Christmas songs. It's so just out of step with what the Beatles would normally make, or what Paul McCartney would normally make. There's a charm to it, right? But then it's the soulless, cynical, corporate sheen of all the X Factor songs. Like I said, he was a fucking cover. He didn't even write his own fucking song, or didn't even pretend to write his own song. He did a cover of somebody else's song.
And that was what
it's not even about Christmas.
A lot of those X Factor songs were that, right?
Yeah.
They were just like, well, shit, they won the X Factor 2 weeks ago and we need to fart out a quick cover.
Yep. That's the thing, it's not, they didn't write the song and it's not about Christmas. And Bob the Builder doesn't even make an appearance. I'm not happy.
I wonder, like, maybe we did cover this last time, but wonder how many Christmas number ones Cliff Richards has got, because
quite a few. I think we mentioned, and that's why we got depressed, of the person who's got the most Christmas number ones is Lad Baby. That knobhead obsessed with sausage rolls, who's just created an entire empire.
Who's basically become the modern equivalent of the X Factor Christmas number one,
because him and his wife want an extension.
Yeah.
And he always says we donate all the proceeds to charity. It's like, but what about all the ad revenue on your page?
Yeah, let's not talk about that.
Yep. It's like that Captain Tom thing, wasn't it? Remember that? Like during the pandemic, it was that like really old man who was walking up and down his garden to raise money for charity. And then it's like, oh, he set up a charity in his name, and then his daughter bought like a swimming pool.
I was going to say, like, didn't they not put that money into like actually good causes or something? Yeah.
Some of it did, but his daughter certainly bought a swimming pool.
Yeah.
I remember that was like, it caused a big controversy, if you're an idiot. Well, like, there's a guy who does Doom map edits of like famous British landmarks. Like he's got like a Doom map edit of like Watford, so you can like you can run around as Doom guy in EastEnders. You can go into like the Queen Vic and just like with the BFG. And he made like the swimming pool that Captain Tom's daughter's got.
Oh no!
And he got like they sent him a cease and desist, which of course went really well and did not bring any attention to the fact. Wait, why does she have a fucking swimming pool?
Well, that's one of my favourite parts about this story is the fact that one of the, as you mentioned, biggest parts of the campaign was Simon Cowell coming out and denouncing it. And it's like,
being mad. And it's like, well, wait, it pisses off Simon Cowell, known arsehole.
Yeah.
And just a huge piece of shit in the industry, is one of the most like abusive, awful people in the industry. Like he's emblematic of everything wrong with the music industry, of like chewing up like young talent and just turning it into a marketable slop that he then spits out.
Well, I mean, obviously, like, you know, not to bring things down too much, but obviously the recent like One Direction controversy, right? Like,
which has brought up a lot of like he went to the funeral and I was like, well, it's kind of your fault, mate.
Like, you kind of destroyed these people's lives and profited off it, and maybe you're just a massive cunt. And it's surprising that of all people, he'd not clearly heard of the Streisand effect.
Yeah,
like just leave it alone. You might not have lost number one.
It is a sad thing, though, right? Jedward would not be happy about this. And the campaign did spread to Ireland, where, like in the UK, the Christmas #1 had been dominated by X Factor finalists for half a decade straight. The campaign, though, was less successful, and McElderry beat Rage Against the Machine to a Christmas #1, with Rage Against the Machine reaching the #2 spot.
Ah, right.
So you got the less coveted Irish #1 for Christmas. On June 6th, 2010, Rage Against the Machine performed a free concert for 40,000 fans. On stage, Tracy and John Mortar, the original starters of the campaign, were handed a representative cheque in the amount of £162,713 and 3 British pence, representing the proceeds from donations to Just Giving and royalties from sales of the single, which, as mentioned, went to various charities like Shelter.
Did they not just decide to buy a giant pool with it? No?
No, they didn't want to lad baby it and put an extension in. And that's the thing, if anyone gets mad, it's like, yes, they do donate the charities from this, like the money they make from the singles they sell, but it's the amount of extra attention they get to their own causes, right? There's a reason why a lot of celebrities give privately, because they don't want their name, their brand, to override the actual charity itself.
Technically, yes, they are giving the proceeds, but they're also gaining millions of YouTube subscribers, views, etc., with all the fame, which you can parlay into things like
TV appearances, which you can charge for, interviews, ad revenue, merch sales.
When it comes to stuff the extras that come along with it is not getting donated. Specifically, the sales amount from the singles being sold is what they're giving away. And there's a lot more to come along with that.
Yeah, here we go. So you made your point there, yeah?
I think you just froze for a second on my end.
You froze on my end. It's all you need to do is go look at the house they live in. They're probably doing it. And speaking of Christmas music, and the inverse of this was George Michael. Where George Michael, after George Michael passed away, it was revealed by a lot of charities and hospitals in his area where he lived prior to his passing away that every year around Christmas time he would just call up and make an anonymous donation for tens of thousands of pounds, and it was surmised that was his royalties from Last Christmas. Right. Just every year he'd get his royalties for the Christmas song he helped write, and just donate it to a local charity, but he wouldn't put his name to it. Mm-hmm. Because he knew that, attaching his name to it would, overshadow the good work that they were doing.
That's the sad part of it all, really, is that ultimately, if you're aware of, a famous person that does a lot of public charity work, is that there is something, whether it be, goodwill, tax breaks, etc., that they are trying to get out of that.
Yeah. And charity is generally a very personal thing.
One of those of we recently made a point to donate to charity, a part of our sponsor that we did with Aura, and
yes,
it's one of those things of it's not I'm saying to not give to charity, and it's a very good thing to do, and it's a good thing to talk about to encourage other people to do so. But if you're aware of a millionaire or billionaire that's donating millions to charity, there's a lot of the time another reason why they're doing so publicly.
It raises your profile, doesn't it? Mm-hmm. It's generally seen as a low cost, low risk way to raise your profile. And low cost, like I said, charitable donations are generally able to be written off.
And that's the unfortunate thing is, for example, I feel a little bit self-conscious about when I ever talk about it, because oh, hey, just... It seems like maybe you're doing this for clout, but is it no, actually, I want to do it to give and then talk about it, as I say, to encourage other people to maybe do the same. But
yeah, because I think it's a good cause, but you've got more self-awareness than most. And that's the thing. It's difficult, right?
It is difficult, yeah. And ultimately, if you do it anonymously, there's no question of whether you're doing it for clout or not, and you're also not reminding other people that is the thing that they should do.
Yeah, and ultimately, it's what you personally see as being the moral choice in your own situation.
Mm-hmm.
I said charity is a very personal thing. At least I believe. I believe charity is a very personal thing.
I think it's a bit of both.
I don't like to.
Can be. I think also it can just be a thing of donating to something that you got asked to donate to. It doesn't necessarily have to be personal. It can just be I guess so. Yeah, sure.
It's the Simpsons joke, isn't it? Subliminal or superliminal. It's what's superliminal? Hey, you, join the Navy. It's okay. But you ever hear Lucas, right? Because that wasn't the only time the song was in the news. Because the song was obviously, it was released, did quite well. Then it was that Christmas #1 campaign, which saw it like renewed interest in it. But it's also had use in several political campaigns. For example, in 2012, Morello demanded the right-wing UK Independence Party stop using "killing in the name" in rallies.
Oh,
and that's the
what
weird
it was,
thing. It's
sorry.
like, why is it that loads of right-wing figures and politicians and groups keep using music written by people who fucking hate them and everything they stand for? And then you realise, because country music kind of sucks.
Yeah.
And Dolly Parton's not going to let them use their songs.
Well, that's the thing, right? Is like, just, I mean, I guess like Dolly Parton's probably the biggest country star to this day, right?
Yeah.
And
You're
very
not going to find
much,
anyone who's more accepted to gay people than old Dolly.
yeah, she is very outspoken about her beliefs and is like, absolutely cut that shit out. No.
Speaking of cut that shit out, following the 2020 United States elections, a video of pro-Trump protesters dancing to "Killing in the Name of" was widely shared on social media. Rage Against the Machine, the entire band, responded in a tweet, "They just don't get it, do they?" So it's like Donald Trump coming out on stage to "Fortunate Son," which is a song about... I'm pretty sure it's specifically talking about people who like draft dodgers, like "Fortunate Son," like,
okay.
that you didn't have to go to war because you're a fortunate son, or born in the USA, which is a teardown of like everything wrong with America that they keep using on July 4th.
And it's like, not only has Donald Trump not gone to war, but hasn't he like said really nasty things about like veterans and stuff?
Gold Star families, yeah.
Like, I can't remember off the top of my head like the actual quotes that he said, but I believe he's just like,
he called Arlington's war dead losers. Because he was asked to go to Arlington to, hey, only presidents go here and show respect for the war dead. It's like, why do I want to go to a place full of losers? In reference to people who died in war defending freedom.
It's like, for someone who claims to be all about like freedom and free speech and all that jazz, it's a very disrespectful to slander people that died for the sake of fighting for their country.
There's generally a line a lot of people won't cross. Like, even the most like bleeding heart liberal won't specifically have a beef with the soldiers, because they see them, even if you don't agree with the military-industrial complex, you see the individual soldiers more as victims of it than you do as like perpetrators of the violence.
It's the military systems I've got a problem with, not the like people on the fucking ground like being subdued to the mess of it all. Yeah,
it's like, I've got a beef with McDonald's as a corporation, not the guy working Matilda's just trying to get his 9-5 in to pay his rent.
Mm-hmm.
Totally. And that's a nuance that is often lost, at least in like online versions of a discourse. Yeah, it's just mentioned there's been many examples of Rage Against the Machine being specifically mentioned, quoted, or referenced by right-wing politicians, only for Rage Against the Machine or Tom Morello or another member of the band to be asked for comment and just call them a fucking idiot.
And
they just, again, to quote the band, they just don't get it.
Very weirdly, I did quickly just Google. There's a wiki page here that we might cover at some point, who knows. But
okay.
Musicians who oppose Donald Trump are users of their music.
Did you see like his last time he did his inauguration campaign, and like he couldn't get fucking anybody to open for him?
No one, yeah.
No one wanted to do it. Because everyone's like, well, he sucks.
He's got Kid Rock and that's about it. But oddly enough, Rage Against the Machine are not in this wiki page. But
I guess they weren't even asked, right? Surely, like, you're not even going to bother asking them, right?
Yeah, but there is a long list, Christ. And I remember like it was the White Stripes, I think, that like outright sued their campaign or whatever for use of
it's like Jack White owns their discography
Army
outright, right? Something?
Yeah, something like that. They just, fair play to them to like literally take these people to court for being like, absolutely do not associate us with this loser.
Yeah. And just, I love that idea as well of like, it's always so telling, right? Of weird right-wing people do nothing but piss and moan all day about the fact they don't want anything to do with this stuff, but they can't stop talking about it because they realise that everything made for them sucks.
Mm-hmm.
Like all the musicians who specifically make music targeted at that crowd, all the music sucks. Like they so like, oh, we love rock and roll. So no. no, rock and roll is not for you.
Yeah, rock and roll does not love you.
Like, rock and roll is like, it's based on the hard work and music of disenfranchised black people. That doesn't really sound like something the Republicans are all about.
And just generally, a lot of music, as we're talking about here, with like Rage Against the Machine.
It's protest music, yeah. Punk.
A lot of stuff like punk. I get it. It's stuff that is trying to like talk about the system and how fucked it is, right?
And it's like, it's the music and the scene and the associated subcultures that evolve around it are all seen as havens for the disenfranchised, which unfortunately does not include like rich white dudes.
No.
As much as they want it to. And they feel so mad. They're so mad about the fact they can't go to the club of people they say they don't like.
Mm-hmm.
It's the equivalent of like, you must have, this is such a weirdly specific pub. Did you ever, when you were at school, have that one arsehole that was like, I fucking hate school? Did you ever have one of those kids get kicked out or expelled or suspended? Because we did. We had this one, like, he was such a prick. I think he's dead now, so good for him.
Jesus fuck.
Well, no, he was an arsehole.
No, it obviously,
nobody liked this guy. He was a prick.
Obviously, if you went to school with them, they're quite young, like, yeah.
He always talked about how, like, he fucking hated school, he never wanted anything to do with it, he was going to be so much better off when he left, and then one day he just got expelled, because he swung at a teacher. And I just remember every single day, he waited outside school for all of his friends to come out. Because he realised that the moment he didn't have anyone to scream at, anyone to argue with, and he realised that, when you go out into the wider world and people just don't give a fuck about you anymore, he immediately wants to come back in.
Yeah, I think there was like a few kids at our school like got suspended a lot but didn't get expelled, and there might have been like someone that moved school and I don't think there was anyone like outright explicitly expelled in my year of school. There was a lot of people who probably should have done.
Yeah, but that always stuck with me, that when everyone heard that this guy got kicked out, everyone besides like, his cronies or whatever, like breathed a sigh of relief, like, so glad. He was just, like, even the teacher, like, he was a fucking prick.
Yeah.
And then just remember every day waited. And like, you just kept trying to come back into school to hang out. It's like, no, you wanted to go away, go do your own thing.
Like, if it's so shit, why'd you keep coming back?
Because it's the only place. Like, it reminds me of that in aspect, right? It's like, I fucking hate all this woke stuff. It's like, okay, don't watch it then. No, I need to, because the only time I ever feel alive is when I argue with people.
Well, it's like a common conversation is like the defunding of arts within, like, especially the school system in the UK. And like under the Tory government for the past 14 fucking years, it's been a constant thing that they've wanted to do more and more. And it's like, okay, so what do you do for like your free time? What do you do for your entertainment?
Mm-hmm.
It's like, oh, well, we watch films, TV, listen to music, go watch theatre, etc., etc. Well, none of that's going to fucking exist if you keep trying to do what you're trying to do.
At the same time, like, we're going to decry the humanities or the soft sciences. Like, I'm sure there's someone out there who'd laugh at Tom Morello for having a degree in one of the soft sciences, like political science. It's like, it's completely useless, but all they do all fucking day is talk about politics.
It's weird, right? Like, just...
Or they'll say, like you said, they'll make fun of, like, the arts.
Mm-hmm.
Drawing is not really a job. It's not a real thing. And then they'll just go and spend, like, 5 hours a day wanking over anime.
But, like, yeah, if those people don't do those jobs, then you ultimately lose out. It's the same people that have this, like, weird high ground of, like, well, you should aspire to, like, a better job that isn't just working in, like, retail or hospitality or something.
And they're the same people who moan about the fact that, you go to a supermarket and there's not a person to serve you, it's a robot instead. It's like, why is there nobody here to serve me? It's like, you don't see that job as a thing that should pay a living wage. Why the fuck would anyone do it? And if they were going to do it, why would they waste the limited time they have serving you? Yeah,
it's like, well, okay, do you enjoy going out to a restaurant of a weekend and having a nice meal? Well, yeah, of course. Well, do you think that the people, like, providing that experience should get treated like humans? Well, no, definitely not.
Yeah, so same people again. So, like, they'll vote to defund all the arts and the humanities and stuff like that, but then talk about how, why is there nothing British anymore? Why have we got nothing to be proud of? Because you keep underfunding the things that would allow there to be, like, new British comedians, musicians, actors.
It's the same energy of, like, people coming on here and listening to us go, we're going to talk about Rage Against the Machine, and then being like, why can't you just keep things apolitical? Keep politics out of this podcast.
Oh, there's a great H-Bomber guy bit about this, where it's like he says it off the cuff, but it feels like it's a very, very immaculately crafted line that just it summates that kind of person's opinion of the people who scream about not wanting politics in video games and media actually love politics. They love it. They wish there were more politics in their video games and their media. They just wish there were more of their politics.
And Karl,
I just thought it was like such a great way of summating it. Of just they scream about not wanting politics in their media. So they do want politics in their media. The problem is that the people making the media that they're obsessed with don't like them or it disagrees with them. And then rather than acknowledge that within themselves or try and have a dialogue about what that means and maybe introspect, it's like no, change it.
They just want more things to align with their own position.
To cater specifically to them, because they don't like having to think about the stuff they consume. And they especially don't like the idea that the stuff they consume is made by people who don't like them.
It's like obviously I consume a lot of, like, media of One Piece, whether it be One Piece itself or, like, watching fan videos and stuff like that. And just the idea of people not being able to comprehend, like, the idea that the Straw Hats are essentially like left-wing, like
freedom
libertarians.
Fighters, right?
Like, yeah, they're like fighting against the government and all this, and it's like they can't comprehend the idea. Like, a lot of people just can't admit to themselves that Luffy is like anti-government, anti-establishment, left-winger. If he were to ever fall upon a political spectrum.
Yeah, or acknowledge that there is any parallels to the real world in the media that they consume.
Yeah.
And they would derisively and mock anyone who notices or comments upon those allusions, however obvious or intentional, because they either don't want to see it or, which is a really weird trend of like anti-intellectualism.
Yeah.
It's a weird thing. I think it happened recently on social media. Some lady posted, I got my PhD. I got my thesis. Here's my PhD. And people don't know a PhD generally is on a very, very niche, specific field of study within a field of study within a field of study. That's what a PhD is. It's like you basically just hyper-focus in on like one aspect of knowledge that has yet to be explored, written about, or in an academic sense at least.
Yeah,
so PhD theses tend to be very, very specific.
One of those things, right, where as you go through education, you like hone in on a certain subject more and more and more. The deeper and deeper you go further into education, and doctorate is just like the extreme level of that. Of you are like within one field going into a very specific point within that field.
Yeah. So, for example, here's just some this is from Oxford. Some examples of previous PhD theses. 3-dimensional geometric image analysis for interventional electrophysiology. That's very specific sounding, right? And that's probably something that only applies. There's probably like 100 people in the world who that would apply to and would understand it. And that's what a PhD thesis is. Because if you want to write something more broadly, well, what are you learning? What's new? Is that a more broad subject has already been covered. We know it down. And that happened recently. This lady did a PhD thesis on, I think it was like olfactory something or other in English. It's something really specific. But all it's been all weekend is like weird right-wing people tearing her apart. For like, well, this is stupid. Why would anyone read about this? It's like, well, it's for a very specific audience that doesn't include you. So what purpose does it have? All knowledge is new knowledge. Surely that has value, right? Even if you don't see it. And there's obviously people within her field and people within the industry and people who are studying similar parallel topics. Like, this is fascinating. I can't wait to read it. This is the exact kind of thing that I love, because literally nobody else has ever talked about this in an academic sense. You are the first, a foray into a new area of knowledge. It's like, they don't like that because they don't understand it.
It's a niche within a niche within a niche at that point. Yeah. Where just there is only going to be a small handful of the human population that can like fully understand and comprehend and enjoy reading this, but it's very important to those people. Yeah.
And that's the problem of and it's the anti-intellectualism bent of they don't understand it, so as a result, it doesn't have value. Which is a terrifying concept that's become so much more prevalent. the idea of people being angry at something because they don't understand it and they don't think it should exist. Like it happened with Elon Musk, where like he's been asking people to show him examples of like government agencies that need to be dismissed or like removed to save money. And one that people point out is, here's like a group of like scientists on the government payroll who were looking at the sex patterns of bees. And it cost them $1 million to do this or something. And it's like, what value does that have? And then one of the scientists involved is like, well, it's really important to understand how bees have sex so we can pollinate crops. Mm-hmm. You'd think someone who wants to populate a foreign planet would see the value in understanding how to maximize crop yields. And like you can tell that when he was writing, he's like, do I need to keep talking?
Like, have I made my point yet?
Just do you like Toby when he's talking about Michael, like, can we have like fire spinners in the office? He's like, well, there's going to be kids there, and it's a paper warehouse, and it's a health and safety nightmare. Do I need to keep talking? And like, just because you don't understand why it has value doesn't mean it doesn't have value. And usually the more specific it is, it probably is going. Let's say like someone pointed out, like Darwin. Darwin spent 4 fucking years studying barnacle penises, and that was the foundation of like the theory of evolution.
Right.
But also like bird beaks, right? If you wrote like if Darwin was around today and evolution was like a concept, he wrote a 4,000 page thesis on the differentiation in bird beaks across the world. Mm-hmm. I presume people make fun of that too. It's like this is the foundation of how we understand evolution.
Well, that's the thing, right, is, again, to a layman, maybe it might not sound important to understand how bees have sex, but ultimately it's one of the most important things for a thriving nature to continue because bees are that important to our entire, like, ecosystem.
Yeah.
Like, we literally cannot live without the bees. We need to understand everything we can about them because they're that important.
And even stuff that's just more like, even more specific than that, it might have values you don't see. Mm-hmm. Like one of them was like, they're giving steroids to mice. And it's like, yeah, but what does that do? You're making buff mice? It's like, well, we're testing a new experimental cortisone steroid on the brains of mice, and this could help eliminate degenerative diseases. Which you'd know if you read more than the title of our research study and understood it.
Yeah.
Maybe like, the softer sciences. I remember this about, it's really fascinating. So I'm just going on about my degree now, but there's a really great Reddit thread on what do you think is the most useless degree? And obviously, you expect the right-wing weirdos, they're all the classics, like women's studies. And someone broke down, like, women's studies is probably one of the most versatile and useful degrees in the modern, like, what's the word now? Hiring landscape. And someone's like, well, explain how. It's like, well, women are 51% of the population. Every company on earth that wants to make a profit wants to maximize their profit. And women are universally being a underrepresented and undermarketed to demographic. Someone who understands how historically who understands that and has specialization in how to utilize the concepts within and maximize the appeal of a product of a service to women, and can ignore the pitfalls and is aware of the pitfalls and the previous trappings that have caused this to mention like that Burger King tweet, women belong in the kitchen. There is not a company on earth whose goal is to make profit, aka every company on planet Earth, who would not want someone on their staff who understands this.
Yeah, and I think it's pretty easy, really, is you just make the pens pink, right?
Yep.
Just make pens pink and women will buy them. So that was the problem with...
Yep.
Apparently, Bic decided that they weren't making enough money somehow, but yeah, pink pens.
But I just found that fascinating. It was like really interesting. They broke down. It's like this 3,500, basically an essay in of itself of like every field in which this degree is valuable, and will get you a good job, and why companies are chomping at the bit for people who have this specific qualification. And it's responsible like now.
Yeah.
Because they don't understand. Because in their head, women's studies is going in and hearing women complain about being
right. It's about feminism, and I don't want to hear about that. It's them constantly like whining about the pay gap, which I'm not trying to disparage.
Say that it doesn't exist.
Yeah,
and that's
it
probably
does
like,
exist, and it's bullshit. That was me,
be like,
doing a poor impersonation of someone like that.
That would be like the first day, right?
Mm-hmm.
What are the other 3 years teaching you?
Yes.
So it was weirdly enough, there's like a...
it's weird how understanding over half the population is important somehow, yeah.
That was like the simplification of like, do you really not, even if you're looking at it from the perspective of like a super, they say they're logical, but they're not, a hyper-logical weird dude bro who doesn't care about people, why do you really not see the value in having an expertise on 51% of the population?
Yeah, it's the exact same way we talk about like how corporations have realized like, oh, we should probably cater to like gay people because gay people also have money, right?
Yeah.
But, like, they're not doing it for ethical reasons, but it needs to be done in their eyes because, hey, everybody has money.
Everyone has money. There are more gay people than there are weird racist people.
I'd like to hope that
maybe
that
would
be the right way.
I just found that to be a fascinating topic. So it's the last example I can think of is a South Park episode of all things, where there's an episode about NASCAR, and it sums up like this kind of thinking where Cartman wants to be a NASCAR racer, and he's like, all you do is turn left.
Mm-hmm.
And he goes and he's doing the interviews like, turn left, and they have like the actual NASCAR driver. It's like, okay, so the conditions on the road are a bit spotty at the moment, so we've got like, I don't know the exact thing they say, but they talk about all the minutiae of different details that you have to consider to drive a car at 100 miles an hour in a circle.
Mm-hmm.
That the average layperson would never even consider because it doesn't occur to them. And Cartman's like, no, turn left, and he just crashes his car second one.
I still think
it's more complicated than you expect, even if you don't understand it.
Yeah. And I think one of my favourite stories about NASCAR is like, obviously we don't really watch or think about NASCAR over in the UK, but just that guy that rammed his like car into the like right hand side and just like put his foot through the fucking accelerator and overtook a bunch of cars, and I think he won the race, if not like gained quite a few positions. And he was I don't know, it's just like something that worked in Gran Turismo when I used to play it with my brothers.
So I tried it, and also sometimes it's simpler than you expect.
And then that was deemed super dangerous, and then I think that maneuver got banned now. Yeah, but it was just
we talked about it. Oh, sorry.
Someone was like stupid enough to be like, I'm gonna just ram myself into the wall and hope for the best.
Give it a go. We talked about it in regards to like football, right? American football, where there's like that college player missed a kick, and you had like dickheads online of like, I don't understand how a guy who's paid $1 million a year to kick can't kick properly. It's like, well, maybe it's because there's more at play than you expect. Just because you don't understand it, or you don't have a full awareness of the mechanics of the situation, doesn't mean there isn't complexity there.
Yeah.
And the sign of someone who's willing to learn is someone who'd be like, I don't understand this, but I'd like to know more about it. So like a dissertation on something, or a thesis statement, or someone who's like, no, it's useless.
One thing I did find very funny is over the weekend I watched an interview with Charlie Brooker.
Yes.
Who was talking about his dissertation. He briefly mentioned it, and he was like, he was doing a degree in media studies.
Which is what I studied, yeah.
And he said he failed his media studies degree because he mainly based his dissertation on Sonic the Hedgehog.
Yeah, he wrote about video games.
Yeah,
and they said that video games are as culturally relevant as TV or film. It's like ignoring the historical context that 20, 30 years ago, people would have said that about TV.
Yeah, and this was obviously when Charlie Brooker was younger and
about
going
20
through
years
higher
ago. I believe he did
education.
study in Sheffield as well. So fast forward 20 years.
Yeah, it was just a case of like he failed his dissertation because video games were not seen as like relevant or actually like cultural media at the time.
An art form worthy of discussion, like the likes of film or TV.
because it was 20 odd years ago and people didn't give a shit about them.
Yeah, we just go to show. And the fact that academics have changed their tune on that, it shows that, knowledge always grows and is willing to admit fault or at the very least acknowledge it and move on learn from it. And presumably you could write a dissertation on that, right?
And also the argument that, okay, maybe video games at the time might arguably not have been culturally and artistically relevant enough to start writing dissertations on, but the form has evolved to the point where, because it now mimics a lot of what fucking film and TV does, it might be considered closer to an art form.
And that's the thing as well. It's you think as well, people on the internet understand this, because a lot of academia is writing responses or rebuttals. It's reaction videos, just with it's peer reviewed, so it means more.
Yeah.
That's something in regards to that lady who, here's a picture of her with her thesis, which is a genuinely fascinating subject, and people in the field that she studies are genuinely enthused about it. This is interesting, I can't wait to read it. But seeing the reaction from weird men online of being vitriolic to the point of sending her death threats, you could write a thesis statement on that.
I'm sure somebody, slightly, obviously very different, but I'd assume at this point somebody's written papers on Gamergate, right?
Yeah. Also parasocial relationships. I was I say Fred, it's someone I know quite well. We talk on and off over the years. They were at university and they were doing their thesis on parasocial relationships. So they used me as a primary source. As someone who's directly dealt with parasocial relationships, which is the new burgeoning phenomenon. It's always been a phenomenon, but the phenomenon of parasocial relationships in specific regards to online content creators, which is what their thesis was about.
And speaking of parasocial relationships,
yes.
Karl, one of the goals that we have, in fact, the first goal that we have to meet on our Patreon is to get guests onto this podcast. And
yes, more friends.
You mentioned a content creator not long ago on this podcast. Do you reckon we could get H-Bomber guy in?
You might do it.
I mean, you might, right? It's aim
he
for the stars,
right?
When we're talking about the disparity between the smaller class of YouTubers.
Let's check now. I'm presumably he's
got millions of subscribers, right?
I want to see if they have a contact page.
I think they have
He's got a Wikipedia
email.
page.
Well, there we go.
They've got a Wikipedia page.
But this is the
West
kind
Yorkshire,
of
and he's 32.
Ooh, we might be able to get in.
Might be able to.
I'm not promising anything, but I was just when you talk about that's a person that A, seems pretty down to earth, and B, we both enjoy their content.
Yes.
If we just message them please be on our tiny podcast. I know that it won't get 3 million views like your videos do, but please. Because that is someone that I genuinely have enjoyed their content for a while.
And I would be interested to get their perspective on. And that's the thing, that's what learning is, right? Part of learning is it's the experience of somebody else.
And part of learning is learning how to take rejection very well when we get rejected by H-Bomber guy, or just ignored.
I imagine it'd get bounced back, but I've checked they do have you can send inquiries to this page. So presumably we could send an inquiry to them, see what they're up to.
We never promise, but we can always try to reach out to people who are much bigger than us in hopes that we get them on the podcast.
Why not?
You got to shoot your shot at some point, right?
Exactly. Give it a go, right?
It's not like we've got 3 subscribers.
We've got enough. That's the thing. The more subscribers we get, the more likely they are to team up with us.
And we can't do much about that, but everyone watching can. Just remember, share the video, subscribe, do all that jazz. Help us out, and maybe at some point we can get a much bigger YouTuber like that on the podcast. And I think it's one of those, right, of it's not necessarily about how many views somebody gets or how many subscribers they've got. It's more about what kind of person they are and what vibe they have, because as somebody who has zero knowledge of what H-Bomber guy is as a person, they at least seem a little bit more down to earth and down to clown with someone that might be not as big, right?
The only thing I need to know that H-Bomber guy is all right in my book is when they they streamed all of Donkey Kong 64 as a fuck you to Graham Linehan.
But that was also when they got AOC on, right?
Yeah. Which the Bomber guy themselves expressed like bafflement at the XO talk they did, I believe. There's a great XO talk they did about it. They talk about how, like, hey, I'm just a goober on the internet, and somehow I ended up with, talking to a politician after getting into a beef with a guy who wrote some funny TV shows 20 years ago who's now had their mind melted.
Weird, like, rabbit hole of just absolute nasty oblivion, right? Like,
but you know what? They're not like we should probably start talking about it because we've not even spoke about this, right?
But I'm pretty sure, like, they're the person that got AOC to say, like, trans rights as well. Yeah.
On stream.
Yeah, that was a cool moment. It's like, of all things, to fucking DK64 as well.
Like, it was like during the lead up to the election, wasn't it? You had like Tim Waltz on stream playing Crazy Taxi.
God, maybe things would have gone better in America if Tim Waltz had leaned into the Crazy Taxi era like a bit sooner.
Just like instead of Uber, we're gonna have Crazy Taxi.
Honestly,
Crazy Taxi won't take you where you want to go. He'll take you where you need to go.
Yeah,
it's like, all right, get in. Hey.
I genuinely think that they would have claimed a few more votes if they'd leaned into that angle a bit earlier. If they'd just fully got Tim Waltz on like a weekly stream talking about like actual issues while playing Crazy Taxi.
If they just got played more Offspring songs at the campaigns.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're always open to suggestions for people to talk to as well. If anyone has any suggestions for people they think, they fit the vibe of your podcast and your content very well, maybe you should think about reaching out to them. That's something we'd be happy to hear, so we can collate a personal list behind the scenes for ourselves, and then at some point, presumably next year, we're going to start reaching out to people like, hey, do you want to come talk to us?
Yeah, from the way that things are going with the Patreon, like obviously, plug. People can go check that out and help us get towards that first goal. But just, I imagine that the way things are going with it right now, that it'll probably be next year by the time we actually start getting people on. But in the meantime, it would be good to start collating a list of people that we would like to get on. And
in addition to, previous collaborators and stuff we've had in the past. Like I said, I want to get Rips on just because I like his voice.
Rips has got a great voice, yeah.
He should be doing radio shows. Just like when he's doing more, I will never forget. Like the reason we met is had a viral tweet mentioning him, and I was like, you know what, let's work together on something Rips. Mm-hmm. Just when he refers to super fast tea bags as the torpedo bags. Just every time I see someone teabagging a game, now all I hear in my head is just Rips going, oh, and he's throwing down the torpedo bags. It just gets me every fucking time.
I will clarify as well that obviously I would like to think people realise that we would prefer to have people on that we have at least some vague knowledge about, because just, I say, kind of passing the vibe check of, we don't want to accidentally get someone on board that's, going down this, we mentioned that we don't like Donald Trump, and all of a sudden we end up in, a big argument about that.
Whoa. Don't like Ben Shapiro on or like that, man.
Yeah, no, not exactly. It's
but to be fair, if we're going to have someone on this stream, I want someone who can pleasure their wife. That's the vibe check for me. It's Ben Shapiro. Or who can buy a plank of wood from a shop. In a very different setting, it's not like I'm unwilling to talk to those kind of people or have debates and things like that. But this is not that space. That's not what this podcast is. This podcast is meant to be just a hopefully entertaining, fun time to chill out and discuss a few silly wikis. It's not that deep. Unless we talk about Rage Against the Machine, in which case it super is.
There's elements.
Lucas, right? What are you talking about this week?
There's elements. What I'm talking about this week is going for a break.
Okay.
So I have forgotten to actually change the image for the break to be Renata, so bear with me.
Oh, Renata's going to be so surprised. That's the thing when people see it as well go blow up massive.
So... yeah, we'll bring Big Renata in now.
Ginormo cat.
There we go, Big Renata's in. So
The
bear with
ginormo
us.
cat.
We'll just be a couple of minutes. I really need the toilet, so we'll be back. We'll be back soon. Well then, Karl, we are back.
We are indeed.
Renata is gone, but I don't know if you noticed.
I can see that the sausages are ready for Christmas.
The sausages are, and it has something to do, with the theming of today as well.
Is it Christmas?
Well, it is Christmas, and we're going for like a bit of a Christmassy vibe with the podcast, I would hope.
Okay, so
going down
what's the topic you brought
rabbit
today?
hole of like Rage Against the Machine, and I'm like, yeah, we're keeping it Christmassy today.
And we just went on like a half an hour long tangent about the value of academia and the rise of anti-intellectualism and how terrifying it is for the future.
But I am showing on screen now the sausages.
Yes, the powerful sausages.
The powerful sausages, and they are by the Christmas tree that we just put up. As of recording, we put them up yesterday. And yeah, just get to enjoy some little picture of Oryx and Cade there, just being good boys. But
so how dangerous was it to set up a Christmas tree with dogs that are like small enough to go completely under the Christmas tree?
It's not too bad with them, to be
fair. Do they
fair.
go underneath it then?
Like they can go underneath it, but like they're not too destructive as long as there's nothing edible under the tree.
My mum made a mistake. She put candy canes on the tree when we got a dog and forgot. It's like, Mum, you basically put food on the tree.
Yeah.
Do you know, I hid them at the back so the dog can't get to it. And it's like,
the dog will get to it.
One day you come in, trees on floor.
Yeah. But, that's something that I wanted to just bring up because it kind of ties into what I'm talking about today, which is just we're talking about the Wikipedia for Christmas decoration.
So, Lucas, what kind of Christmas decoration put-upper are you? Because my apartment has 0 Christmas decorations. Because I live alone.
Is one thing I wanted to talk about with you, because you're very much on the opposite side of me where, we put up the tree. We don't really do outside lights as much because that's quite a faff, but just inside the house, we've got a little wreath on the door, but other than that, it's mainly inside, and we make it all nice and Christmassy and have some lights inside and the tree up and things like that. And you're just very much not that person.
It's because, like I said, I live alone, and most of my Christmas activities are spent visiting family.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have anyone round to my house to celebrate Christmas things. I go out for meals, which are in neutral locations that are usually decorated, or going to family houses where they've got kids. That's it, I don't got kids.
Yeah.
The people coming around to my house, it's normally a stopgap before we go out for, like I said, a meal. Like my dad's coming round in a couple of weeks, and we're going out for a meal. He's not coming to my house to eat, so why do I have Christmas decorations up?
Yeah, that's fair.
But I do love Christmas. That's the thing. I fucking love Christmas.
People might notice the little bow tie that Oryx has got. Kate's got one as well that's matching. There's a little Minnie Mouse one, but it's little gingerbread bow ties for the boys, and they've got little Christmas jumpers on and stuff. So again, when you're talking just family households, that's kind of how we treat it. Is instead of having kids to fuss over for Christmas
and spoil,
we fuss over the dogs, right?
And I want to clarify. I'm not a Grinch. I'm not a Scrooge. I love Christmas. Mm-hmm. I love, I say I go to plenty. I've got dozens, I think at least a dozen Christmas party to go to. I'm seeing a friend tomorrow for a Christmas get-together. I'm seeing a friend on Thursday for a Christmas get-together. I'm seeing a friend on Friday for a Christmas get-together. I'm travelling through to Nottingham on Saturday for a Christmas get-together. I'm seeing, and then I've got to see my mum and dad are divorced. I've got 2 different Christmas households to go to. Then I've got family Christmas at one house. My cousin's putting one on. You know what? You get all Christmased out. Sometimes it's nice to go to a neutral location.
That's fair. And I am a little bit upset that we're beginning this month where I haven't sorted my hair out yet. I'm hoping maybe by next
Christmas
podcast.
You never wear the jumper. I got this out of storage today.
I haven't gotten my Christmas jumper stuff out or anything yet.
That's it. I love Christmas. And I do have a big bowl of candy canes outside my house. So my neighbours can, people walking past, they can get some candy canes.
It's not Halloween.
But they're candy canes.
That's
Christmas.
not something I've ever heard anyone do
I
before.
wanted to do it because I wanted to celebrate, and
Just, I can't wait for Karl to put up like a social media post about like
someone
the
nicked my
drunk
bowl.
guy that nicked the entire bowl of candy cane.
I did it for Halloween once. Someone kicked him over. That was a bit of a dick move.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, I'm hoping like maybe next week, people watching the video version will be able to see like my nice Christmassy hair next time, but not right now. It's still just the Halloween-y faded colours of like lime and orange. But yeah, it's the orange fades a lot quick. Like anyone who dyes the hair will know this of like greens and blues stay in your hair for fucking forever and impossible to get rid of. And like the things that are on like, the other side of the spectrum, like the reds and oranges and stuff and the pinks, they just fade so fast.
They do indeed, yes. Joe doesn't fade though, Christmas spirit.
It depends who you're talking to.
Is anyone you've met who's a Scrooge? Is there someone in your family or friend group who's a Scrooge?
Not a proper like Scrooge or Grinch kind of person, but there's definitely quite a few people in my family that like aren't overly forced.
Next, the friend I was seeing today, the one I've got to go meet and give him like the wallet back after we've recorded this, is they're like, I don't like Christmas music. I don't like Christmas music. And I was putting Christmas music on, like, don't put Christmas music on.
Right, yeah.
That was upsetting.
No, yeah, it's like one of those of I like having a Christmas song playlist and that, but I'm way more of a Christmas movies kind of person and like Christmas TV specials and stuff like that than I am Christmas music. I do like some Christmas songs, but my Christmas song list is a lot shorter than a lot of other people's, I'd imagine.
My Christmas song list as well is like it's great because you've got like the classics on there. You got like your Paul McCartney, your Lad Babies, of course. You got all his 5 Christmas number ones about sausage rolls on.
Fucking hell.
But you got to get a bit of Boney M. I'm joking about the Lad Baby. I fucking hate that dude.
Mm-hmm.
You got the Boney M though, the Afro pop.
Oh, okay.
He doesn't. You don't think like Afro pop would suit Christmas, but it sounds so Christmassy to me because my mum would play it when I was little.
Oh, fair. Yeah.
And I've got like the pop punk Christmas remix and the soundtrack to a bunch of Christmas movies on there. Like you got your Nightmare Before Christmas, all those soundtracks. Like they're just the songs that sound Christmassy.
I mean, shout out to a recent addition to my Christmas playlist, which is the I think it's just called like Christmas Time Is Here or something like that, and it's from the Guardians of the Galaxy Christmas special.
Okay.
And I don't know if you watched that?
I did, yeah. And do you know what? Shout outs to James Gunn for just making something that felt Christmassy.
It felt really Christmassy, right?
It's such an abstract concept, right? It's so subjective, but it's like if something's Christmassy or not. It's hard to describe what makes it Christmassy, but you can just tell.
Yeah, but it still really made it feel Guardians of the Galaxy as well. They struck a really good note with that one.
Yeah.
Like, I thought it was going to be such a write-off thing of like, oh, Guardians of the Galaxy Christmas special, sure. And then it was actually really heartfelt and Christmassy. And funny as well.
Yeah.
And also just like a absolute banger of a Christmas song as well.
But I don't think it's going to go onto my rotation of Christmas movies or Christmas watchers. Like, obviously, number one with a bullet, it's going to be a Wiki Weekends episode. Don't you fucking worry. Wrong Trousers.
Oh, okay, great, yeah.
It's not Christmas till you've watched the Wrong Trousers.
I was worried where you were going with that because, for me, like, I think probably at this point, like, I've got, like, a few in the rotation, which I think are going to be part of, like, my Patreon vote for the month, but...
Okay.
Just... with a bullet, probably just Jingle All the Way.
Jingle All the Way is fantastic, which we did an episode on.
Yeah, and then I think one of the ones, the other one in contention, it's either Jingle All the Way or Elf.
Elf is, you know what? Jon Favreau's one of his better projects. Do you know as well that's directly cited as the reason he got the Iron Man movie?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
That and I think it's the Zathura film, which is like the Jumanji sequel no one likes. But apparently it had like groundbreaking special effects.
Yeah, yeah.
The special effects in it were really good and groundbreaking. So that's what got him. It was Elf and that got him the Iron Man
You're not saying
gig.
that like his most, seminal piece is the Lion King remake with zero soul or happiness or joy.
No.
No. But speaking of happiness and joy, Karl, we need to talk about Christmas decorations.
Let me know about Christmas decks.
I will say, for I think both of us, it's like I'm aware Christmas is technically like a religious holiday, but it does not mean that to me.
You know what? I don't care. Jesus is not about you, baby.
I'm not a religious person, haven't been for the longest time, got brought up Christian, which is why I celebrate Christmas, but like, couldn't give a flying fuck about the religious aspect of it.
It's not about you, Jesus.
It, as many Christmas specials will point out, it's about friends and family and coming together, and just Christmas is a good excuse for that, and I always like to premise that, because it might seem like we're going on like some Christian tirade during December, but it's not about that for me.
Simpsons bit about it where Lisa turns Buddhist and Marge tries to lure her back to Christianity with Christmas, and she goes and she speaks. I think it's Richard Gere. That's his guest episode, I think.
Oh wow!
Where she asks you like, "Oh, my family's trying to lure me back with Christmas." Like, well, you can still celebrate a holiday as long as it's about peace and togetherness. You don't necessarily have to celebrate the religious aspects. And it's like there are many cultures around the world, religions, where someone who's not of that faith can still celebrate, and in fact would be invited to celebrate.
Yes, exactly.
Right? There are many cultures like maybe you wouldn't be invited to the specifically religious aspects of Hanukkah, but I'm imagining that a Jewish family celebrating Hanukkah would not exclude a non-Jewish friend or family member from coming to the meal or the celebrations, because ultimately it's a celebration, like I said, family, friends, togetherness.
Yeah, I think a lot of people in a more modern day aspect treat it very similarly to how like Canadians and Americans might treat their Thanksgivings, where it is just about coming together with the people that you care about and being thankful for what you've got.
Yeah, it's seen as a largely secular holiday, divorced of its Christmas and pagan traditions.
To some people. And it is very telling that in the first paragraph here, the Christmas decoration is several types of ornamentation used at a Christmastide and the greater holiday season. The traditional colours of Christmas are pine green or evergreen, snow white and heart red, gold and silver.
Basically my jumper that I'm wearing.
Yes, very much, yes.
And the lights that I've got behind me. I set my lights to go between red and green.
Oh, I didn't actually notice that, I'm not going to lie.
I did, though. That's a little bit. That's the little bit of extra the set building you get.
And then
that quality control.
Gold and silver are also prevalent, as are other metallic colours. But yeah, this is where the religious part might come in for some people. Of just typical images on Christmas decorations include baby Jesus, Mother Mary, angels, Father Christmas, Santa Claus, the Star of Bethlehem, and then you've also got Advent wreaths, nativity scenes, illuminations, and Moravian stars. They're popular Christmas decorations. I'm not sure how to pronounce that last one, but yes. Just a lot of like baby Jesus, nativity, religious. Like
three wise men. Like gift giving supposedly goes back to the days of like the three wise men gave the baby Jesus some frankincense, some gold, and some myrrh.
Yeah, I'm very, very much just a person that could not give a crap about like having a nativity scene now or putting like a baby Jesus anywhere. Like, put it this way, we have like a white tree, which is very non-traditional, I'm aware. And then our entire tree is like filled with Disney ornaments and the star on top of the tree.
Symbols of excess.
Yeah, like the star that we have on the top of the tree is actually a Jack Skellington stealing a present.
I still think one of my favourite jokes that people do around Christmas is I finally got the star for my tree and it's like a picture of their dog or something. Yeah. I always love those ones.
Rather than like, oh, we put like the angel on top of the tree. I'm like, absolutely fuck that shit. I am like just very, very much in the idea of have a Christmas tree, but theme it and make it fun. And it doesn't have to be like this boring, stilted, like old school stuff with all the baby Jesus
amalgamation
all over
of
it.
All the different traditions, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like incorporate all the different aspects of Christmas. That's one of the fun things about Christmas is, especially when you start like blending friend groups and family groups, and when you have like a partner or something, like Christmas traditions come together and get combined or celebrated individually but at the same time together. Like for example, like one of my absolute most favourite Christmas traditions, like I said, just waking up and watching The Wrong Trousers. But also it's tradition in my family. Well, my mum would always do it every morning, bacon sandwich. You got to have your bacon sandwich, your orange juice. But other people would like, oh, you got to wake up and have like a mince pie and a cup of tea or something.
Well, that's one thing I've talked about is you can see like the evolution of my Christmas morning marking like my dad becoming a bit more middle class. I've like throughout our entire childhood, it was like bacon butties.
Yeah.
And then at some point it became like him wanting to do like bagels with salmon and cream cheese. It's like, fuck off. It's meant to be a bacon butty. That's still nice and tasty, don't get me wrong, but
it's not traditional.
It's meant to be a bacon butty. Oh dear, but yeah, like I can't complain. You know, but it was just like that clear, like in my brain marking of like when my dad got a promotion and a little bit more money.
Started getting a bit fancy with it.
Yeah. It's like, oh,
started getting your you didn't get Quality Street anymore. You got Miniature Heroes.
Wait, what are you on about?
I'm trying to think what's like the
Quality Street's the fancy one.
Is Quality Street the posh version?
Yeah.
Roses are the shit ones, right?
Like Roses are definitely we've got Quality Street at home. But like things like Heroes and Celebrations are even like lower down on the rung than them.
Should we clarify these for Americans?
Yeah, so they're just different boxes of like selections of chocolates, right? Whereas like you've got Celebrations and Miniature Heroes where they are just things like I think Heroes is like the Cadbury branded one, right?
Yeah, but it's essentially just like a little box of chocolates that people just have in a communal place in a house or a home.
The ones that we are referring to as like the lower down ones are ones where it's like, oh, they're just Cadbury bars but shrunk down and put in a selection box, whereas Roses and Quality Streets are very much like their own thing, right? They're not shrunken down versions of chocolate bars that you can get or anything. They are like bespoke boxes of a chocolate set that you specifically can only get from them.
And they come in like very ornate looking, colourful, brightly packaged foil.
Yeah, individually wrapped, foil-covered, colourful Christmas chocolates and stuff. Well, chocolates that are sold all year round, but most people associate them very much with Christmas, as I do a lot of the time, kind of like Matchmakers, After Eights, Ferrero Rocher, just the kind of not super cheap chocolates that you might get to like share amongst the family during Christmas.
It's nouveau riche, right? It's like it has the appearance of value, so as a result, it gets put forward as Christmassy. It's a little bit posh, like chocolate oranges, like you said.
A little bit posher because each one of them have that like veneer of a classiness where they like even the Matchmakers they come in like their own little bespoke box where they're very like, you know, fitted to the Matchmakers, and the After Eights all come in their own little individual sleeves.
Yeah. And my camera's frozen, but can you still hear me?
I can hear you, but your camera has definitely frozen.
I guess just assume that that's the face I'm making for the rest of the video. Just, yes. Lucas, tell me more about this subject.
Just drop in and come back and see if that helps.
Okay, I'll do that then. Give me a sec.
Oh no, we've got the boxers now. That's even worse. You just got the little disco boxers trying their best. But I will continue just reading out the wiki and hoping that Karl makes his way back. In many countries, such as Sweden, people start to set up their Advent and Christmas decorations on the first day of Advent. We've got just giant Lucas now. Liturgically, this is done in some parishes through a hanging of the greens ceremony, and I don't know.
What the fuck did I just miss?
I'm just continuing to like read the wiki as you were trying to get back in.
Okay.
In the Western Christian world, the two traditional days when Christmas decorations are removed are the 12th night, and if they are not taken down on that date, Candlemas, the latter of which ends the Christmas Epiphany season in some denominations, and there's a lot of words I'm not familiar with here.
My moment is always Christmas decorations go up on the 1st of December. They go down on the 12th day after Christmas. So
okay, well, yeah, that's what we. So the 6th of January is when like they come down, which is the 12th night, and then Candlemas has a blue link here, which is also known as the Feast of the Presentation of Jesus Christ, the Feast of the Purification of the Blessed Virgin Mary, or the Feast of the Holy Encounter. And
you know what? The branding on that sucks. Christmas is way better.
It does suck. The feast falls. Karl, do you know what day the feast falls on?
The 6th of January?
No. A date you're way more familiar with.
Is it February 2nd?
It is February 2nd.
My birthday! Yay! Groundhog Day!
Which is traditionally the 40th day and the conclusion of Christmas Epiphany season. So you mark the end of Christmas, Karl.
You know what? I bet if companies got on board with that, we'd be celebrating Christmas from like the end of October to the start of February.
Christ.
Don't let the companies know that technically you're supposed to celebrate Christmas for a month after Christmas.
Jesus.
You know what though? Because you can't buy presents for it, they wouldn't be able to do it.
I'm so annoyed that companies have started breaking through the barrier that is Halloween.
Yeah. Goths used to hold the line, they don't anymore.
We don't anymore. It used to always be just Halloween. It was
a hard date, right? It's like
the one day
where they've got to have Halloween decorations up.
The barrier to Christmas decorations being sold is like they always at least waited till November 1st because Halloween was the important thing.
You don't
want
to have like skulls and orange and black next to angels and snowmen. And
you would think so, but they've stopped giving a shit at this point and just like...
They know what makes them more money.
Yeah, decorations are out all through October as well now, and it pisses me off.
It's when they start selling Easter eggs in December, that's what gets me.
I don't even give a shit about that. It's just the idea of seeing them try to sell me Halloween decorations and Christmas decorations at the same time. That's one thing I will be a fucking Grinch about.
Yeah, Nightmare Before Christmas. Because I love Christmas, but only if it's celebrated for 1 month.
I like Halloween, and I love Christmas. I do care way more about Christmas than Halloween, but I like Halloween. Celebrate it more than most in the UK.
Yeah, and like a lot of people as well, I disagree with the commercialisation of Christmas, but I don't use that as an excuse to not buy people presents. I mean in the sense that I don't like that a big company tries to tell me how to celebrate Christmas. Where it's like, ooh, make a new Christmas tradition by buying up. No, fuck off.
I agree in that sense.
A shit bacon sandwich and a pork pie, because that's a Smallwood family tradition.
I don't like pork pies. Why
Christmas tradition? I don't even like pork pies. But they're a Christmas food in my house for some reason, so I've got to eat pork pie at Christmas.
Why are they eating cold, and why have they got fucking jelly in them?
Luke, I don't know, but I've got to eat one. Or it's not Christmas in my house.
Well,
that's the thing about, they're nonsensical. But they're tradition nonetheless.
Okay, apparently taking down Christmas decorations before 12th night, as well as leaving the decorations up beyond Candlemas, is historically considered to be inauspicious.
Yeah, it's bad luck, right? Generally, it's just bad luck. And also, a bit tacky.
A bit tacky, but how many times have you, seen people, especially with outside decorations, leave them up past the day they're meant to go down and go, well, we're up for the year now?
My favourites are people repurpose Halloween decorations to put Christmas hats on the skeletons and stuff.
But one thing I did hear was great, and I want to adopt this as an idea, is getting a black tree for Halloween, and then, as it turns from Halloween into Christmas, you start adding more and more Christmas decorations to it. And, that's not the main tree. That can't be the main tree. You need at least 2 trees if that's going to be your vibe. But I love the idea of doing... because we already have one Disney tree, is having a black tree that is Halloween and Christmas, and it would be a Nightmare Before Christmas tree.
Well, to say, if you like Nightmare Before Christmas, you can have Halloween and Christmas decorations at the same time. Exactly. They're essentially the same thing.
Because, if anyone is unfamiliar somehow, then, it's very much Jack Skellern lives in Halloween Town and discovers the joy of Christmas, and it's very much a, why can't we celebrate both?
I'm going to guess that's on your list of Christmas topics.
Oh, God, yes.
Because I've got a list of, what I'm going to cover over the next, 3 or 4 weeks. Wrong Trousers is on there, spoilers.
I mean,
as are a couple of other Christmas traditions for myself.
The only reason why I can't, come up with a definitive list to tell people on the podcast right now, go check out the Patreon, the vote will be live.
Okay.
Is only because I don't remember which ones we've already covered on Wiki Weekends before.
And you need to do a double check.
So I just need to search the channel and make sure which ones we haven't covered yet.
Yeah. Well, in that, do you have any other weirdly specific Christmas traditions that, like you said, I have to eat pork pies at Christmas because historically in my household, pork pies were just a thing my mum bought, and now it's become a Christmas tradition of pork pies are Christmas food. And I don't know why.
I guess.
But they are to me, and I can never undo that.
One specific one that's probably quite common is that I will always do morning of Christmas, the stockings go first, and we open the stocking up in bed, because I was always the excitable one between me and my siblings, and every single year, our parents would be like, oh, give us until 7 a.m. That's when you're allowed to be our alarm clock. 7 a.m. was the cut-off point when we could get our parents up. And I would always be there at 3, 4 o'clock in the morning, waking up my siblings because they couldn't tell me off, going, let's open our stockings. So we'd all sit in bed and go through our stocking gifts and stuff first. So
good way of doing it.
That's something that's carried over, is always done Christmas stockings the morning of before getting up and doing any other presents of any kind.
Yeah, I've got the one of if you have a Christmas lunch, you've got to wear your hat. And if you don't wear your hat, you're not allowed to have pudding.
I haven't heard that part, but just always,
that's just a rule of for the Grinch who doesn't wear it, it's no pudding for you then.
Every year, you always have the Christmas crackers on the table. You pull your crackers first, you put the hat on, you tell a bad joke, you look at your shit prize.
Yep.
And the last, I think it's now 3 or 4 Christmases, I've, with different members of the family and stuff, either had a cracker or 2 to pull. For years, I have not won 1 cracker pull.
Well, that's the one as well. If you the loser, if you lose, you also get made fun of.
I've been given pity presents over the past couple of years because somehow I am that quote unquote bad at
you don't
doing
put your
Christmas
thumb on
crackers.
It. You have a treat. You put
I
your
try
thumb on
every
it,
trick under the book. I try doing the twist as you do it, grabbing your wrist as you pull on it, getting a thumb over the. I lose every time lately. Literally for years, I have not got the big end of the cracker.
That's bad. I don't think we do that because I've never done the turkey breaking thing, the wishbone.
I think we've done that once with extended family, but not often. Yeah.
But the other one is the turkey leg. There's only 2.
Mm-hmm.
Historically, one would go to my dad, or when I was when my mum and dad got divorced, the man of the house. But then the second one goes to whoever was the best that Christmas morning.
Oh, right, okay.
So it's a treat of who did the best, who tidied up and helped my mum the most, will get the big Christmas, the big giant turkey leg, which obviously you want as a kid, right?
I mean, we've normally done chicken, or if we have extended family and there's 20 of us, it'd be chicken and beef or something like that, but
you get the big turkey leg.
We've never really done a big turkey, per se, but when I'm carving a chicken, I'll just carve the leg up as well, and people can share the meat. I don't really do the whole one person gets a leg each thing.
It's a thing in my house, and I don't like leg meat anyway, so it's fine for me. So I could be a right little shit on Christmas morning because I only wanted the turkey meat.
I don't want the leg meat. Something I mentioned not long ago is that I know I'm a weirdo, but I like having the slightly drier meat of the breast meat with some gravy poured all over it.
Oh, here's the thing as well. How many different liquids do you have in your Christmas dinner? I've seen people have 4 or 5.
What do you mean?
There's a lot of liquid. So you have gravy.
Yeah.
So gravy, cranberry sauce.
Okay, yeah, we'd normally have mint sauce, applesauce, cranberry sauce on the table, yeah.
Well, would you have all them on? Then cheese sauce, bread sauce.
I've never heard of them for Christmas dinner. Fucking hell.
There's a lot of liquids on that plate, eh?
There's a lot of liquids in the Smallwood household.
I'll tell you what, the one thing that changed my life, and now I can't not doing it, pisses me off, is my ex was American. So rather than have a Thanksgiving dinner and a Christmas dinner, because we didn't want to have like two massive, like expensive meals in one year, we said we're going to combine elements of an American Thanksgiving dinner with a Christmas dinner.
A Thanksmas.
And the thing that changed my fucking life is mac and cheese. You might not think mac and cheese, just with the traditional British, turkey, stuffing, mashed potatoes, roast potatoes, changed my life. Because mac and cheese with turkey gravy on it.
Because essentially a Thanksgiving dinner is mostly traditional roast English dinner for Christmas, but like there's a couple of side dishes that are changed. But
cranberry sauce, but that's like more a thing. We did adopt that eventually, but she's like, said the mac and cheese won't change my life. Mac and cheese with turkey. Leftovers the next day.
Yeah, I mean, you say like cranberry sauce. The thing I always see with Americans is like specifically the can of like jellied cranberry tin, and I'm like, that does not look appealing in any way.
Yeah, there's a lot of liquids on a Christmas dinner, isn't there? A lot of wets.
Well, I wasn't sure whether you meant like accompanying a Christmas dinner, because often when I'm having Christmas dinner, it'll be that you've got like a glass of water, a glass of wine, a glass of sparkly, like maybe like a cider or a beer or something, and like you've just got like
it is a day of excess, right?
Absolute arrangement of different drinks, like maybe even like a short of like whiskey or something like that to go along with it.
Yeah. You have your digestif at the end of it, don't you?
Mm-hmm.
Which is normally for in my mum's house, it'd generally be port,
right? Yeah,
Advocat, if you prefer.
And
which is more, as you say, not really great digestive, but
a day of excess is a good way to describe it. Yeah, for sure.
Well, just the amount of wets.
The amount of wets.
Just so much wets. It's how moist. So that's why your turkey can be dry, right? When you've got all that shit on top.
Exactly.
It's
right.
Like, wait, so your turkey's dry? Who cares? I've got like 3 litres of gravy on it.
And I, it's not that I want the meat to be dry. It's just drier than it is like the leg meat, I should say.
Traditionally served.
Mm-hmm. I don't want it to be like fucking bone dry like a lot of turkey is when it's got poorly.
It's the equivalent of asking for like a steak to be like medium well, right? It's not the way it's traditionally served, but it's still a valid way of serving it. Or like you're getting your pasta al dente.
Yeah, it's just I don't want it to be near pink chicken in the middle, like when some people serve it barely fucking cooked through.
Oh, that medium rare turkey. I love me some salmonella.
It makes me just so sad and sick when you see just fucking TikToks and stuff when I'm like going through food talk of like, oh, look at this person who thinks that they're being inventive with chicken and it's like pink in the middle.
The absolute best one is still that like Fox News presenter who's like, here's how you celebrate a real American Christmas, and she put like 1 sprinkle of salt on her chicken, and it was like the whitest, plainest chicken. She's got no like pepper in it or anything. It's like, that looks awful.
Where's Vashon when you need him?
You didn't even put just bacon over the top of it. Like, you seasoned my chicken.
Seasoned my chicken.
And it's like, it looks awful. It's like, you've convinced yourself that this is nice. It's like, I always bring up that like, that amazing clip of that presenter eating seasoned chicken for the first time. And you just see him, he doesn't even talk, he starts beating his fist in the table like, that's so good. He's
never
lived
had
like 40
chicken. Years of my life without seasoned chicken, what the fuck's going on?
Oh, did you see one that went around recently? That lady was like, hey, I'm going to tell you the secret to good mac and cheese. It's like, elbow mac and cheese, fuck that. It's all about this curly pasta, because cheese gets stuck in the middle of it all. And that kind of pasta sold out.
Oh,
in
really?
Like stores across America, because I was like, my God, the mac and cheese technology has improved.
And, speaking of sold out, I will give a shout out to, again, another YouTube creator getting a shout out today, the craziness, the insanity. I watched a video, I think it was like literally yesterday.
Okay.
And I'm just going on. It's from 2 days ago of like technology connections who just, do a breakdown of different technologies and stuff like that and give a very good, in-depth, detailed discussion on them and stuff and like breaking down how the mechanics of them all work and things. For years and years, they have been like on a tirade of trying to get LED Christmas lights that look like traditional Christmas lights, because on the LEDs the colours are all like, wrong and
They're
too
too bright,
vivid
right?
and bright, right? Yeah.
And it's that thing of like, I forget who it is. So it's the thing that most people will be nostalgic for in regards to older technology will be its defects or its imperfections. Like with VHS, it's scan lines. With records, it's the skipping, and there's a granularity to it that can't be replicated by newer technology because it's too perfect, too clean.
But
I guess for them, it's the specific glow,
the warm glow of it.
The warm, that's the right way. LED lights are too clean, too cold, like you said.
And it was very funny that I watched it, like, I think within the first couple of hours of that video going out, and they were like, finally, after years and years of them making a video every year about it, like, someone's done it right with
Someone's
like these mini LED light bulbs that like look correct and stuff, and they immediately just sold out. And
I know exactly what you mean, right? Because like I can see the lights on your Christmas tree in your picture, very bright. But when I think back to Christmas as a kid, there was, like I said, there was a warmth to those lights.
Yeah,
but they were dangerous as fuck because they catch fire, and that's why Christmas tree fires were a thing that you got warned about every day, right?
And also just LED lights are like 10 times as efficient energy-wise, yeah. So just, you can have a bunch of LED lights for the same price that you can run one set of old school incandescent lights, right?
But there's just something to be said about, like I said, the warmth, the twinkling lights, right?
And just, I found it very funny because like I didn't really get that point until I watched the video.
The side-by-side, I imagine.
About a minute into the first time I watched one of their videos, I was like, oh no, I get it now. Yeah, I totally see the difference and get why.
I understand. It's night and day.
And I found it so funny that immediately these Christmas lights were out of stock, of just like, this person made just, again, a very impassioned campaign for years, like, get this fucking right, and the moment they did, it's like, yeah, sold out.
Well, this is what he talks about, right? Of objectively, one is quote unquote better because the newer technology is brighter, it's clearer, there's more clarity to the light it's giving off. But that's not what you want. It's like, oh, I can make your turkey juicier, but I don't want it to be juicy. I want it to be a little bit dry. Because when you're eating a Christmas dinner, some of your enjoyment's the flavour, of course, but some of it is also the nostalgia of you eating and it reminds you of being a little kid, right?
Yeah.
That's why I like pork pies. I don't particularly like pork pies. When I get a pork pie at Christmas, I'm like, it makes me feel Christmassy because it reminds me when I was a little kid and, like, when me and my brothers would have a pork pie and dip it in piccalilli.
And that's the thing, right, is like, even when talking about, just when we were kids and like we had a bacon butty every Christmas morning.
And it was cream like cheese out of here, Dad.
A little bit over buttered, and the bacon was always a little bit like not undercooked but not crispy because whichever parent was doing it was just like trying to do it as quickly as possible, like tired on a Christmas morning, and we would have that before presents a lot of the time. So it's like, get the butties done nice and quick before like all that jazz. So that it's not specifically that they were the best bacon butties ever, but if they were better, it would be weird because that's not how I have the nostalgia for.
It's not how you remember them, yeah. Like a popular one that people might be more familiar with is mashed potatoes with bits in it or lumps.
Oh yeah, I hate that shit.
That's it. You make that face, but a really common thing that people play out when they go to restaurants. Like Gordon Ramsay's talked about this before, like when he does like his really fancy Christmas dinners.
Yeah,
people complain because the mashed potato doesn't have lumps in. Because to them, mashed potato has lumps in because that's how they remember. Because mashed potato is a comfort food for a lot of people.
Oh yeah, so super comfort food, and I get what you mean. It's the exact same point I'm making of just the bad way is the way that they associate with Christmas, and therefore they're unhappy with when it's not lumpy and bad because that's not what they associate with Christmas. Because whoever was cooking, they just didn't make particularly great mashed potato, but it's the mashed potato they remember.
Yes. And
nostalgia is one hell of a drug.
It is. It can overpower a lot of your other senses. And that's why traditions are so important to Christmas, and it's why they're so fun to explore and discuss. And when you encounter somebody else's tradition, that not necessarily might be the same thing that you do.
And speaking of traditions, maybe I believe would be the longest standing tradition when it comes to like Christmas decorations would be the tree itself. And the Christmas tree was first used by German Lutherans, I don't know that word, in the 16th century, with records indicating that a Christmas tree was placed in the Cathedral of Strasbourg in 1539 under the leader...
It's not really that old a tradition if you think about it, right?
Well, not compared to the actual religion itself,
because it was like 1600 AD.
Like...
Right?
The first like record we have of it is 1539, so over 1500 years after Jesus.
I'm almost positive like candy canes would be about as old as that.
Potentially.
Because I know candy canes were made to keep unruly children like from acting up in church a couple hundred years ago.
I wonder whether it mentions it here.
And they're based on like, a shepherd's crook, Jesus being the shepherd.
Yeah. Well, no, Jesus wasn't a shepherd, was he?
Well, he's referred to as the shepherd, right? He refers to his followers
like
as
a shepherd of man, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
So they're based on a shepherd's crook. What's the story anyway? Like, who knows what these fucking things come from, right? But that's like the story as told.
I wonder, like, it doesn't seem to have, on when I'm just like quickly scrolling through, I can't see like heading of candy canes or anything, but
okay.
I wonder if we can go to candy cane. So, candy cane is a cane-shaped stick candy, often associated with Christmastide as well as St. Nicholas Day. A record of the 1837 exhibition of the Massachusetts Charitable Mechanic Association, where confections were judged competitively, mentions stick candy. So,
okay, so it's a bit old. It's a bit. It's quite old, but not as old as the idea of a tree.
Yeah, it looks like mid-1800s.
Yeah, I imagine like when Jesus was knocking about, there wasn't much call for a Christmas tree, right? It's going to be traditional. You've got to get like a fucking stack of hay in your corner, have a sheep give birth on it.
The Nursery Monthly magazine mentions candy canes in association with Christmas in 1874.
Still pretty old. That's like a lot older than you probably expect, right? Because it seems like such a
it's like 150
modern,
years.
mass-produced thing.
150 years ain't bad.
Not bad. I think that's older than like the traditional image of Santa Claus, because that was like Coca-Cola ad campaign, wasn't it? That obviously St. Nicholas and Santa Claus was a thing, but the modern version of what Santa Claus looks like was solidified by a advertising campaign.
I think a very similar modern version of Santa already existed, but Coca-Cola changed it from green to red, right?
Yeah, because traditionally Santa could wear green or red, or a combination of the two, and obviously St. Nicholas was patron saint of prostitutes, is the fun fact everyone likes to have.
God, maybe like at some point we can do an episode on Christmas adverts, just because we can then rag on Coca-Cola for how shit their AI advert was this year.
I saw that. My friend who was over wanted to watch an NFL game, and I was like, okay. And while NFL, I am baffled. Americans make fun of football, soccer to Americans. Like, sometimes it ends in a 0-0 draw, but even the slowest paced football game still has 45 straight minutes of people kicking the ball around a field. And there'll be at least like one or two shots on goal. Football, I'm not kidding, mate. There was a part where the ball moved literally 1 foot.
Yeah.
1 foot after a minute of build-up, and it cut to an ad for 2 minutes.
Yeah.
And then they came back on, and it moved another foot.
It is wild, because every single play needs an entire like setup
ad
and
break.
Changes and stuff, which is ample time for ad breaks, right? And in football, it is very much like most set pieces might take 10 seconds to get set up or whatever.
And I can't believe that I was like, and every ad break had that AI Coca-Cola advert. It looks like shit. Also, fun fact, it wasn't AI, because after the AI company made it, they had to bring another company in because the Coca-Cola logos were all skew with, because the AI logos are poisoned in AI.
It's not 100% AI. It is AI-based stuff. Like, all of the like imagery is clearly shit and made by AI, and it has no soul or direction. But then, yeah, clearly the Coca-Cola logo wouldn't be correct if it weren't done by hand.
The funniest part about it is, when my friend, when I pointed out to them, like, this is all AI, and it does look shit. And each way they look at the trucks, they're all different sizes.
Different different shapes.
It can't even get the trucks with the same fucking size.
Different number of like wheels on each one. Like, every single truck is a different truck.
And the thing is, though, how is that better than the advert they made 30 years ago? They show every year without changes that people genuinely get excited for. There's it used to be a tradition, right? I'm not sure if this is a tradition anymore.
Because they had to pay less people to work on it.
How do they have to pay less people for the advert they already own? That the holidays are coming ad.
Oh no, yeah, I don't mean that, but obviously they have to have a new one every year,
right?
Yeah.
That was so popular an advert that to a lot of people that was the start of the Christmas season. That's in our household. It was when you saw that advert, you could start getting excited for Christmas.
That was the start of Christmas for a lot of people, and then this year I've heard nothing positive about Coca-Cola or anyone, denoting the start of the season with it being the Coke Christmas advert issue. Oh, look how shit this looks.
Except for Pepsi, who did an Akira-styled anime advert that was hand-drawn. And has hot anime girls drinking Pepsi, and it's like...
That sounds awesome. I have not seen that.
I know who's winning the Christmas Wars this year.
It's apparently not John Lewis either.
I hate that adverts that they try and make you sad.
Well, it's sometimes it's sad in a good way, right? So the one that I really like and remember is the one where it's the older man, learning skateboard tricks. And it's what's this guy doing, being shit on a skateboard when he's clearly in his 30s or 40s or whatever. And then it cuts at the end of the advert to, a girl that he's, presumably his daughter or adopted or something like that. I can't remember, but she's just holding a skateboard. And the point is that he's learning or trying to learn how to skateboard for his, daughter or whatever.
Yeah. And it ends with buy stuff from John Lewis. That's it. It's the cynical aspect of Christmas.
It's an advert, right?
It's an ad, yeah.
It's still an ad. And just, at least that tugs to the heartstrings way more than, hey, check out these weird AI squirrels that morph into one another.
It's so funny. As soon as I pointed out, all the trucks are different sizes.
Mm-hmm.
And you think they can't even get what a truck looks like, which is the literal first thing most 5-year-olds learn to draw besides a house, right? Of 2 wheels square.
Yeah. It's very funny. And it's even funnier that they have to pay someone to go in and manually touch up the logo afterwards, yeah.
Because it fucked up their logo.
Mm-hmm.
They paid money for something that couldn't get their own logo right. This one of the singular most widely recognised logos in the existence of the world, and AI can't replicate it, whereas you could go to an artist and they go, okay, just give me the asset.
It's wild. But going back to a Christmas tree here, Karl.
Yes.
It says, when decorating the Christmas tree, many individuals place a star atop the tree, symbolising the start of Bethlehem. Get fucked. I do not.
No.
A fact recorded by the School Journal in 1897.
Again, it's totally divorced from the original context, right? It's same with a lot of Christmas songs are religious or have a religious bent to them.
Mm-hmm.
No one cares.
No, not really.
And that's what makes it really funny for me of you're co-opting our holiday. It's
yeah.
You can do about it.
It's
mine now.
There's a lot of stuff that the Christianity
is co-opted.
Christianity or Catholicism has co-opted over the years, and a lot of bad stuff has been done in the name of different religions, including Christianity and Catholicism. So get wrecked.
Yeah.
I'm taking Christmas to be my own.
Christmas being a secular holiday makes more sense because it's so divorced in the original context of what it was. It barely is recognisable as a religious ceremony at all.
I would say that that's true from the perspective of us in the UK. I don't know what it's like in other countries, but not many people I know who celebrate Christmas actually give a shit about anything religious related to it.
No. The closest you'll get is maybe I've been to, on occasion, Christmas hymns when they have a choir in town or something, and I won't sing along, but I will respectfully bow my head because I'm not a prick. I'm not one of those guys who will loudly announce my atheism or agnosticism
and obviously
to the crowd, but I will sit there and say, it's very nice to see people singing nice Christmas songs in a church.
There's way worse things going on than people being happy singing hymns, right? It's it's not something I'm going to pick a beef with. It's not for me. But obviously we're talking about a lot about Christianity and Christmas, but in discussions of folklore, some claim that the Christmas tree is a Christianization of pagan tradition and as a ritual surrounding the winter solstice, which included the use of evergreen boughs and an adaptation of pagan tree worship. So again, immediately, one line after we've talked about get wrecked Christianity is like, well, they're co-opting a pagan tradition of a tree.
This is what, if you think about it as well for more than 5 minutes, it makes more sense than anything to do with Christianity, right? It's like, okay, where were the fir trees in Bethlehem?
And obviously,
show me where the fir trees are in Bethlehem.
The evidence points towards Jesus being born in spring, right?
Yeah.
With everything that is described in the story of Jesus being born, it's like, well, it wouldn't make sense for him to be born in December. Why the fuck would the shepherds be out and with the lambs and stuff? Yeah. So it's all just a weird, just absolute mess at this point.
You know what? Calling it a pagan festival makes it sound way more metal. I'd be way more likely to celebrate it if they told me it was a pagan festival.
Well, speaking of something that sounds pretty metal, Karl, just according to 8th century biographer, I don't know how to say that, but it's like an A and an E combined. So A.D. Stephanus, St. Boniface, from 634 to 709, who was a missionary in Germany, took an axe to an oak tree dedicated to Thor and pointed out a fir tree, which he stated was a more fitting object of reverence because it pointed to heaven. Now, it had a triangular shape, which he said was symbolic of the Trinity. And I love the idea, absolutely fuck this Thor tree. I'm getting the triangle tree.
Well, here's the one that gets me, Joe Santa's reindeer. What are Santa's reindeer, Lucas, traditionally?
9 reindeer led by Rudolph.
Yeah, what are the names?
Oh,
do you know off the top of your head?
Dancer, Prancer, Donner, Vixen, Cupid, something else.
You know a couple of them, right? The ones that were Donner and Blitzen.
Donner and Blitzen,
in the traditional sense, they're called Donder and Blixhelm, which is, I forget which language it is, but I think it's Old Jamaic for thunder and lightning.
Yeah.
Thunder and fucking lightning. How metal is that?
I wonder whether it comes up here, but...
Donder and Blixhelm. Thunder and lightning will lead my sleigh tonight.
Thunder and Blixhelm. Which is just fucking thunder and lightning.
Thunder and fucking lightning. How metal's that?
They don't even get front of the pack.
And it is the best bit about Santa as well. If you just remix that look a little bit, if you think, man, led by thunder and lightning, giant white flowing beard, long hair, that could be a heavy metal band.
Oh, yeah. Gotcha.
Wearing all red.
And the reindeers are Dasher, Dancer, Prancer, Vixen, Comet, Cupid, Dunder, and Blixen.
Traditionally, yeah. Just
that's
thunder
the
and
tradition.
Fucking lightning, baby.
Yeah. In the original poem. But then
make Christmas metal again.
What Dunder and Blitzen is what are they called now? Did you say?
Donner and Blitzen.
Donner and Blitzen, yeah. So yeah, just one of those of I wish that. I mean, you don't even really get any interpretation of it being super metal. It's obviously you get loads of Christmas movies over the years, and I still can't think of one where you get a super metal Santa. Actually, he's not metal, but a very cool interpretation is one I'll talk about at some point, which is Rise of the Guardians, has a pretty cool Santa.
Yeah, well, we could do that on another episode then. I think Santa would be interpretation. That'd be good for a live episode, I feel. So we can get some live feedback from people of favourite interpretation of Santa. That'd be a good episode to cover on a live episode. A good topic on a live episode.
But, hopefully people have enjoyed this episode, which has not been a live recording. But of course, just remember that even if we can't record it live, it will be out at the usual time on a Wednesday afternoon for UK time. And yeah, we will be doing our best to bring the Christmas cheer for all of the good boys and girls over December.
Hell yeah.
And, just, I didn't mean to be exclusionary there. Just shout out to all our like non-binary pals and all that jazz too.
As you say, guys, gals, non-binary pals. And as Krusty says, you go out there and you have yourself a Merry Christmas, a Kwezi Kwanzaa, a tip-top set, a solemn and dignified Ramadan, and a Happy Hanukkah.
Hell goddamn yeah, and thank you all for listening to another episode of the Wiki Weekdays podcast.
Cheers, everybody.
Bye.